got in an accident.
Are you okay?
I don't know.
Okay, did you call the police yet?
Yeah, I did.
I'm gonna call an advocate and you can tell us both at the same time, okay?
Hey, Sarah, your dad told me that you need help.
So, is there anything that I need to do? Or...
Just focus on getting better.
With an advocate on your side, you're never alone.
Today's the day. And look who I just met.
Hey, Dad.
You deserve a worry-free recovery. You deserve an advocate.
This is The Monty Show, the truth in sports talk streaming. When you want unbiased opinions about your favorite team without the spin, all you have to do is find The Monty Show, streaming live and available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on YouTube. And now, here's Monty.
Hey, The Monty Show, live on your YouTube machine. 4 days. 4 days, and your boy is on the beach in Hawaii. Can't wait. Counting them down. Who's counting the days? This guy. Presented by The Advocates at theadvocates.com, the best injury attorneys in the business. I say it every day. They serve you how and where you need to be served. If you are in your office, if you are in your car, if you are in the hospital, The Advocates are ready to serve you on a phone, in person, live online for a chat, 24/7, 365 at theadvocates.com. And the best part is you're never going to reach into your pocket to pay The Advocates, because you don't pay The Advocates unless and until they win your case at theadvocates.com. Good morning to you. Another night, another disaster in Dallas. I don't even know what you say about the Dallas Cowboys. And obviously we'll get a lot more into that game, but shocking before the game that they are, trying to open the roof for once in Texas. It's not 10,000 degrees, and metal sheeting fell down to the playing surface and landed feet from the ESPN Monday Night Countdown set. I mean, this, if it can go wrong, it's gone wrong this year in Dallas, Jake.
Yeah, I mean, it perfectly embodies their season. Everything that's gone wrong for the Dallas Cowboys, you look at this and you say, yeah, I mean, their season is just gone in the tanker, the pooper, right? And ultimately, the sheet metal falling from the roof was just so on brand for the Dallas Cowboys and Jerry World and just the whole thing. I couldn't believe. So it's funny, they start to open the roof and the first piece of metal falls, and then they look into the rafters and there's another piece just chilling in the rafters. I'm glad nobody got hurt, but it just is shocking that Jerry World has that problem.
Can you imagine if that had hit the ESPN set? If that had hit Scott Van Pelt? If that had hit Jason Kelsey? I don't even know what you do. And then you go on to lose the game. You're 0-5 at home for the first time since 1989. This is nothing short of an abject failure by Jerry Jones. And the best part is Jerry Jones saying a couple of weeks ago, well, let's just tear the stadium down. Well, maybe you should. It is remarkable to me that you are in this place where you are just unable to execute events. I mean, how many big time events do they have in that build? Wasn't the Jake Paul fight?
Yep.
At Jerry World.
Yep. Didn't open the roof for that one, though.
I mean, can you imagine the catastrophe that could have been? I don't know. It just feels like if it can go wrong, it's gone wrong for the Dallas Cowboys. And all I will say is what I've always said. It's, I told you so. What's today? Tuesday. Dak Prescott's not what's wrong with the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah.
CeeDee Lamb dropping touchdowns. That's what's wrong with the Dallas
apparently
Cowboys.
CeeDee Lamb doesn't only drop passes from Dak anymore.
It is. It's just amazing to me. It is amazing to me that you see that team. And I'm not one to talk. The Chicago Bears are an absolute disaster. They are not better than the Dallas Cowboys. They are certainly not more well-run than the Dallas Cowboys. They don't have a better stadium than the Dallas Cowboys.
Right.
But when you look at Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys, it is quite clear to me the biggest problem with the Dallas Cowboys is Jerry Jones.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how you fix it. I truly don't.
You don't fix it. And we all run from the concept of, hey, they're not going to be good until somebody else is running the team. Well, that's just the reality of it. You're some years you're going to make the playoffs. Other years you're going to be 0-5 at home. And that just is what it is. I don't know. there's no getting away from it at this point.
Yeah, there's no fixing that.
Yeah, there's no like sugarcoating it or making it feel better or whatever phrase you want to use. Like it's just they are in a terrible spot. They're strapped for money. They've got a ton of injuries, and this season you're basically just taking it on the chin and moving on to next year, and that's just how it's going.
Which is not what they're doing in the Big 12. The Big 12 got a new TV deal, and I think this is, I don't know what adjectives you want to put on it. This is a game changer. It's huge. The Big 12, because ESPN and TNT came to a settlement, and really TNT came to a settlement with the NBA because Jimmy Pitaro, the boss at ESPN, stepped in and provided a solution for TNT, which in this case is, hey, give us Inside the NBA on ESPN, and we'll give you 13 football and 12 basketball games on TNT from the Big 12. Boom. It's a huge win for the Big 12. This isn't a small deal. This is a huge deal. Did I mention that the 25 games that are now going to be on TNT were going to be on ESPN Plus? So they weren't going to be on linear TV, ABC, ESPN, or ESPN2. They were going to be stream only, and now they're going to be on TNT. I don't know how you don't view this as an unequivocal win for the Big 12. It is another indication of a couple of things that we've talked about on this show at length. One, it is very clear that Brett Yormark is plugged in with his partners because Jimmy Pitaro just can't arbitrarily make this decision. He had to work with Warner Brothers Discovery. He had to work with Brett Yormark and his team at the Big 12, and they were all able to come together and make a deal that truly, for one of the rare times in entertainment in Hollywood, it truly is a win-win for everybody. This is a win for Warner Brothers Discovery because they get live play-by-play on their air. This is a win for the Inside the NBA crew and NBA fans because, frankly, that's way better than any product ESPN has. And it is unequivocally a win for the Big 12 because Brett Yormark just put 25 more live sporting events in football and basketball on TNT. Jake, I don't know how else to describe it than absolutely, positively a win for the Big 12.
Absolutely, and I think that there's no downsides to this. I think that this is exactly what you should have done. If you think back, we all went through the, hey, Inside the NBA is not going to be on TNT anymore. It's not going to exist anymore. What are we doing? And so we got that all figured out. And now as a byproduct of that process, the Big 12 is benefiting. And again, I know that everything seems to be the SEC and the Big 10, moving forward and controlling the sport and making all the money, and they're the best, and college football playoff and everything like that. But the Big 12, seemingly just puts together small little base hits, if you will. And it leads to things like this that are home runs, where it's a situation where you're just going to be seen more. And this is going to help in recruiting. This is going to help in branding partnerships. This is going to help basically in every corner of the conference, because the more exposure you have, the more money you're making. It just helps you do everything at a higher level. And to me, TNT had a need. The Big 12, ultimately is always looking for more carriage, always looking to be seen more, always looking to get more eyes on their product, which is smart in my opinion. And I think in a time when your conference is really struggling and you're having a pretty abysmal year on the football field, I think this was a nice win. This was a nice positive. Hey, finally something good to talk about in the Big 12 besides BYU and Colorado. Finally, something positive happened in the conference. So, yeah, I would agree. This is a win-win. This is a home run. Anybody that's criticizing this deal, I'm not really sure where you're coming from on that angle. I'm not really sure how you would criticize this. Like, I just think if you're a fan of any team in the Big 12, you should feel really good about this.
Yeah, and I think when you talk about Big 12 basketball, this is a win for TNT. Now, obviously, this will start in the fall of 2025. So this coming season won't be included, but this is across the board, unequivocally, no doubt about it. This move strengthens the Big 12. It gives them far more reach. It gives them access to new audiences who have not had access to college football and college basketball in the Big 12 at all. And I think what else it does is it elevates the Big 12 again above the ACC. They already had a better TV deal, and now you're getting reach across multiple platforms, Your games are not on stream. That would have been on stream. They're now on linear TV on, of all places, TNT. I think it's a dominant move by ESPN and Brett Yormark. And I think it speaks to the ability of Brett Yormark to leverage his partnerships and relationships to net positive gains and results. This is going to help you recruit. This is going to help you make more money. This is going to help you when you go back to your TV partners for a new deal. There's no doubt you have a good relationship with Jimmy Pitaro and ESPN. I just think it is across the board. It's a win-win. And if you're the ACC, I think you have to be scratching your head a little bit because you're already in turmoil internally with the lawsuits that you're battling. You're in a position where your football product has been significantly weakened. And I think if you're the Big 12, when you're lacking a power brand, to get more reach without a power brand, I don't know how you do it. Some of it is certainly a stroke of luck. There is no doubt about that. I think some of it is that you don't end up going to the ACC likely, because the first thing I thought is, well, why didn't TNT take the ACC as part of this deal? Well, I'm sure it's because there's internal strife, and the last thing you want to do is open up your grant of rights and try and get Florida State and Clemson to sign a renewed grant of rights.
Yeah, TNT probably doesn't want anything to do with that. TNT probably isn't like, oh, man,
I think ESPN, who's right in the middle of that, how do I say it nicely, that manure show in the ACC, right? You're not going back in there and being like, hey, I know you just sued to get our contract, but we'd like to open that up. You're not doing that. Where did Jimmy Pitaro go? He went to a place where he has a good relationship. He went to a place where he understands the landscape of the Big 12. I think it's everything you want.
Yeah, I think also too, like the Big 12 basketball product, I think for this deal is brilliant. Obviously there's only so much bandwidth that ESPN has, and I can appreciate ESPN Plus, but part of it is like, you're on a channel now that is well known. Like when people are flipping around, they'll run into your game.
Your secondary games.
Yeah.
None of your best football games, none of your best basketball games. These are your secondary, the technical term is your tertiary.
Oh.
Your lower level games. That's what's going to be on TNT. It's a huge win for the Big 12. And I think that when we look at this landscape and you listen to, we're going to talk about Lane Kiffin and his hot ass girlfriend in a minute. Him talking about, well, we don't want to play in the SEC championship game. Like you're in a position where if you're the Big 12, you quite literally are listening to other conferences trying to get out of playing in their championship game while you're back channeling new TV deals that get you significantly more reach on linear TV than you would have had. That's the ultimate irony of it. And nobody saw it coming. Under the table, quiet deal, no way to really undo it or torpedo it. It's a win-win across the board.
Yeah. And I also think it was, to me, it was smart to do it underneath the NBA deal getting renewed. Because you were just like, yeah, we're gonna take advantage of this opportunity, and if it gets covered, it gets covered. If not, no big deal.
And it gives you a little more voice in things like a Super League. It gives you a little more voice in conversations that are really important when the NCAA tournament expands, when there's more money being doled out.
Yes, you
have the ability to have direct, influential conversations. That's what this says. That Brett Yormark has a relationship with Jimmy Pitaro at ESPN that is strong enough that they can have one-to-one conversations that result in a significant uptick in exposure for the Big 12. I have no idea how that's not a win.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that, so often we talk about like, realignment and expansion and all this stuff changing in college football, and it was just nice to have like a positive story come out of the Big 12 for once.
Yeah, I think that for all of the truck stop conference, flyover conference, you can all put that in your back pocket now. I think, again, I don't have a dog in the fight, and I think the the super sensitive ACC fan that, consistently and constantly is looking for ways to compare itself to the Big 12, you got beat today.
And by the way, I'd also point out, if you're the Pac-12 schools in this new conference, you're telling me this deal was unavailable to you? Like you had no ability to have a conversation?
That's kind of what I'm saying. Like this is good for everybody. This is good for every member.
Well, I don't think it's good it's great for everybody in the Big 12. Everybody in the Big 12 is going to benefit from this immensely. But think about that. Like, the ACC didn't get this deal done. The new Pac-12 conference didn't get this deal done, even though they're trying to put a TV deal together. It'll just be interesting to see. I mean, the Big 12 just knocked another one down.
It's good for everybody in the Big 12. There's no question about it. And what this tells you is that TNT was clearly not looking to spend money. They were clearly not looking to A, pay the freight on a new NBA deal, B, pay the staff and the infrastructure of the NBA, inside the NBA crew. Okay, so how are we going to replenish that spot? Well, we'll add college football and basketball. I mean, it's a win.
Yeah.
And they saved money on legal fees because they settled their dispute with the NBA. It's a win across the board. And that Brett Yormark played a significant role in that, that's a win. I agree with you on the new Pac-12, this new reimagined league. I agree with you. And the funny thing is, as we reported, and now everybody's confirmed, that the Pac-12 has spoken to Fox and ESPN. Because if you think Fox didn't have a say in this, you're crazy.
Yeah.
Because who else are the partners in the Big 12 TV deal? Fox is a significant partner. Significant. Did it impact Fox? Not a single bit. Because again, this is all inventory that would have been on ESPN Plus.
Mm-hmm.
It's a win.
So it's just an overall, hey, we took something that was upgradable, if you will. We took something in the bag that we could improve, and we improved it. And again, people always say, oh, well, Fox and ESPN and CBS and NBC and ABC and they all compete. No, that's not true. They might compete in ratings and on a piece of paper, but the reality is it's a small, tight-knit industry and everybody talks. And so when TNT sees an opportunity and Brett Yormark and TNT are on the same page and they go to Fox or ESPN or whoever and they have that conversation, Fox is sitting there saying, yeah, let's upgrade this, because if more people see the Big 12 product on TNT, they're going to be more apt to come to Fox to watch Big 12 football. We know that, hey, if someone watches Big 12 football, good Big 12 game, that, even if it's a secondary matchup, a lower tier game, they're going to be more excited about our premier matchups that we have on Fox. And so I hope people understand that it's never really oh man, they're all competing and they don't talk and they're out for the worst of each other. That's not how it works. And this deal, I think, perfectly exemplifies that. And
again, it's a win for ESPN. There's no question about that. Inside the NBA, new expanded NBA coverage for ESPN.
Better coverage.
I would agree, because ESPN's NBA coverage has been...
NBA countdown is as mid as it gets.
I don't watch it, honestly. I think it is good for Warner Brothers TNT because you're struggling financially, as we've seen. And obviously, as we've talked about, it's good for the Big 12. I think it's a win across the board.
Yeah.
It truly is. Yeah, it's cold out. It is cold out here in the.
Be cold in 4 days.
No, it's not. Here in the great city of Salt Lake. Just so you guys are aware, we're looking at temperatures in the order of, because why would you want the weather app to load the one time you need it?
Why would it actually work?
It's so annoying as hell when it doesn't work. Today it is currently 27 degrees and snowing out.
Nice.
So yeah, that's not.
When's the tea time, bro? When's the tea time?
Not ideal. Yeah, no tea time today. But yeah, it's supposed to snow most of the day today, and then we'll be back into the 40s and 50s. Winter has officially arrived.
Yeah.
All right, let's get your thoughts in the comments section. Let's go all the way back to the top. First one in today. Real Pete Forte.
Is that it?
Not the fake Pete Forte, the
Keep
real.
it real.
There's a lot of Pete Fortes. This is the real. Good morning, Pete. Daniel Dixon, hello. Boy, tough in the state of Iowa these days. Tough in the state of Iowa. Let's see. Who else? Midweek Coug. TNT getting 13 football and 15 basketball games. Not sure how big that is. Really? So you don't think for the Big 12 that getting a game a week, college basketball and football, that's not a big deal? An inventory that is your third or fourth best game that was going to be on ESPN Plus. Nah. Why would we want to put that on linear TV where more people could watch it for free without a subscription? Yeah, we're not going to do that. How is that not a good thing?
Yeah, I think the other thing you have to understand is who you're talking to. I mean, this is a Washington State fan.
Yeah, I don't know how it is anything other than I think for the Big 12 is the ultimate winner here. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
So I don't have to pay anymore and my games are going to go from stream to linear TV? Both football and basketball, and my partners are still covered on their best games? That's a loss. Why would we do that? Come on now. Good morning, fellas. Hello, welcome to the Nightmare. Let's see. Daniel Dixon. I hope Notre Dame loses Saturday. So it's going to be this kind of show. It's going to be this kind
He's just a hack.
They don't belong in the playoffs without being in a conference. Well, actually, they do.
Yeah, what does conference affiliation have to do with it?
Somebody saw value in them. I mean, it's not like they get, I don't know, millions of people to watch their games every week, even as a mid-ass football team, which I admit we are right now.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take Notre Dame's schedule over Indiana's. I know they don't have a conference, but,
I think this is one of the great conversations in college football. Who's actually played somebody? Because if you look at Oregon, who people say is the best team in the country, they've got one win, and it's Ohio State. And it was a good win. And they played well. But I think I could make the argument that Ohio State threw that game away. So I ask you, with Oregon's schedule, you tell me how many quality wins are on this schedule. Idaho, Boise State.
It's a quality win.
You think Boise State's a quality win?
You don't get to have it both ways. You don't get to say Boise State's going to the college football playoff and he should win the Heisman and everything is amazing.
I think they're going to the college football playoff because they're the best G5 team. They'll be the highest ranked G5 conference champion if they win the conference.
But my point is everyone's all about Boise State. Okay, so if you're all about Boise State, then that's a quality
I'm
win.
all about Ashton Ginty. I think Ashton Ginty is. I think Travis Hunter should win the Heisman Trophy.
But my point is that okay, that's totally fine. Like, I'm not saying you're a Boise State fan, but what I'm saying is that generally in the big picture.
Yeah, I don't think for Oregon, if you're the best team in the country, you don't only beat Boise State by three points at home.
Okay.
That was at Autzen. Oregon State, UCLA, Michigan State. That's the schedule of the best team in the country. Then you beat Ohio State, Purdue, Illinois, Michigan, Maryland, and Wisconsin, and you're going to finish with a very average Washington team. I don't buy it. I want to see an Ohio State Oregon rematch on a neutral site.
Yeah, the problem is for Ohio State, I'd take Dan Lanning over Ryan Day 7 days a week and twice on Sunday.
Well, I don't think that's even the discussion. I who wouldn't? I would take Dan Lanning. What I'm saying is, I think that you have to. How do I put it this way? I think you have to look at those teams. I think Oregon's a good football team. I'm not buying that Oregon is elite. They're not. Like all this talk about how Oregon would run the table in the SEC. Fuck off. Like,
no, you wouldn't.
You're out of your mind.
Yeah,
you're out of your mind. I don't even know that they dodged every major bullet in the Big Ten, with the exception of Ohio State. And hey, you can only play the teams on your schedule.
I guess the thing for me is like, I understand they haven't, like Ohio State's their biggest win, right? That's like their only quality win, I guess, is what we're saying here. But the reality is that once again, we have the ability in college football to say, okay, if Ohio State matched up with, or if Oregon matched up with whoever on a neutral site, who do we think would win? And we can do that not just based on strength of schedule, but based on who your head coach is, based on the talent on the roster, based on resume in big games, right? Like we have that ability, and we also have the ability to say, okay, we got like 2 weeks left in the season here. Who's playing good football and who's not playing good football? Because I'm also a huge believer in that. We could be talking about Alabama, but if they're playing their worst football of the season, nobody cares that you're Alabama, right? Like it's about how you're playing right now. So no, they wouldn't go undefeated in the SEC. Do I think they can compete with any SEC team? Yeah, of course they can compete, but I think it's going too far to be like, oh yeah, they would be Texas and Georgia and Bama and LSU and Ole Miss. You're not going undefeated in the SEC, and that's the problem for Oregon is that you're playing a soft-ass Big Ten schedule. But I'm somebody who says, hey, even if they weren't ranked number 1, I'd still have them top 3 in the country, and I'd still take them pretty much over anybody at Autzen. Now, if it's a neutral site or on the road, that's a different conversation. So if we're going to sit here and talk about, well, hey, who's the best team in the country, I think we got to kind of put an equation together here. Like what's their rank? What's their schedule? Where are we playing the game? What time are we playing the game?
But this is, again, why I go back to the SEC is the best conference in the country.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going undefeated in that conference. You don't get 6 outs.
Yeah.
6 gimme games. Look at Oregon's schedule. Idaho, Oregon State, UCLA, Michigan State, Purdue, Illinois, Michigan, Maryland, Wisconsin. That's 9 gimme games.
Yeah.
9 gimme games. And again, I just tell you, did they have to go early in the season to play at the Big House? No.
But if they had, do you think they win that game? Because that's what people are doing here.
I don't.
I don't think they'd beat Michigan.
Not the way that Dylan Gabriel was playing in September. Because he was not they were not a good football team. That Boise State game, that would be a completely different football game today.
Right.
I think they would roll Boise State at Autzen Stadium. And I have a lot of respect for Boise State. They were not a cohesive unit in September. We saw that with Oregon.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I just point to who else have they played? And I look at the difference between playing Michigan 3 weeks ago and playing Michigan week number 3 in the season.
Yeah.
That's a huge difference. That's a huge difference. And that's why I say, like, you don't have to like it, but the SEC is the best conference in the country. And I look at their teams. Look at Texas's schedule. How many outs are on Texas's schedule? Colorado State, that's an out. At Michigan, week 2. I'm not saying that's an out.
Well, and everyone was saying Michigan. Everyone thought that would be a really close game. So I don't think that's an out at all.
UTSA,
Out.
UL Monroe,
Out.
Mississippi State, Oklahoma in a rivalry game. Is that an out?
No, that's not an out.
Georgia, no. Vanderbilt, no. Florida, no. Arkansas, no. Kentucky, and now Texas A&M. So they have 5 outs. Oregon's got 9. All right, well, let's look at Georgia. Look at Georgia. How many outs does Georgia have? Clemson? No. Tennessee Tech? Yes. Kentucky? No. Bama? No. Auburn? No. Mississippi State? Bad football team.
Yeah.
I'll even throw in Mississippi State. Texas? No. Florida? No. Ole Miss? No. Tennessee? No. Massachusetts?
Yes.
Yes. Georgia Tech? No. 3 outs for Georgia.
So the question has to be asked then. Who do you view as the best team in the country then? So if it's not Oregon based on schedule, and we see what Georgia's played, but they have what, 2 losses?
Georgia's got 2 losses.
So
their 2 losses, mind you, are Alabama and Ole Miss.
So I feel like we have 2 camps, and this is the struggle in college football when we talk about the top 5 teams or the best team in the country or anything like that. Hey, are we looking at Are we looking at strength of schedule and that's the thing? Or are we in the camp of, hey, who do we believe would win on any given Saturday? Because I feel like those are kind of the two viewpoints that people use. And some people want to say, oh, well, hey, Indiana's undefeated. Indiana might be the best example. Indiana's undefeated. They should be a top 5 team. They're one of the best teams in the country, but they've got 10 outs on their schedule. Like, they haven't played anybody yet. And obviously the Ohio State game's coming up, but you get my point. So
the best teams rise at the end of the season. And I will just continue to, and this is, you look at the AP top 25 right here. You look at the teams that are truly rising, and Ohio State, Oregon. Ohio State's not had the most difficult schedule, that's for sure.
I mean, listen, I would have Oregon top 5 pretty much in any ranking right now.
I think, and I understand you guys are going to be all pissed about this. I think it's Texas, Bama, or Georgia
as the best team.
Yes, and I think the way that Jalen Milroe is playing right now, and this goes to the Lane Kiffin comment.
Yeah,
Lane Kiffin is talking about how he doesn't want to go to the SEC championship game. And the question I ask is, how do you disagree with Lane Kiffin on this?
I don't know. I guess I would say, it's changed. The conference championship, could have a big impact both ways for people. So I've talked to other coaches, so I'll just kind of give you the feeling from some other coaches that, they don't want to be in it. And, the risk to get a bye, the reward to get a bye versus the risk to get knocked out completely, that's a really big risk.
How do you argue that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that you can argue it. I think the discussion comes in. What's really hard about this is, and this is why we need a Super League, honestly. But what's really hard about this is that the SEC strength of schedule and the difficulty that they go through in the season is so much more than what a team like Oregon faces. And the problem comes in is that, like, for me, I look at Oregon and I say, hey, right now with the football they're playing, I do think they can compete with the SEC teams. I don't think that I'm not saying they'd go undefeated in the SEC or any of that nonsense. I just think the schedule is too difficult. But I do think they'd be right in the same position as like a Texas or Georgia or Bama, where you're 1 or 2 losses and every single week you're playing for your season because you damn well know if you're a 3-loss team, you're done, your season's over, and we got to start again next year. And that's the hard part.
And just looking at this schedule, I think it's one of those things where you cannot continue to believe that you're going to succeed if you're going to the conference championship game.
I also think too, with the conference championship game point and this whole scheduling thing that we're comparing and contrasting, think about the wear and tear on your roster too. And this is the other part about like the Super League and like how we go about kind of defining a national champion in college football. Like Oregon's wear and tear through that schedule is far less than what an SEC team is going to see. Now, on the flip side of that coin, obviously, we of course have to point out that the SEC teams are getting all the best talent in the country, and they're like 3-4 deep at every position. So it all kind of balances itself out. So I guess my point here, and not to get too lost in the minutia, but like my point is just that if you look at a team in the top 10, and whether it's the college football playoff rankings, the AP, you should be able to say, okay, hey, I can look at Oregon and I can say, yeah, soft-ass schedule. You beat the at home. The didn't play great. Okay, yeah. Even with all that being said, I still think that in a neutral site game, they would probably beat most opponents because they're tougher. Dan Lanning has his team playing a certain way, but we need to see that play out in the college football playoff.
And that's why I say if it's Ohio State and Oregon in a Big Ten championship game, that's a different game in Indianapolis.
Right.
And yeah. I look at any of these top teams in the SEC, and I think Texas is probably, looking at the schedules in the SEC, Texas has probably had the easiest road. Right? Colorado State, as I mentioned, going through their schedule a minute ago. I think that when you look at their SEC schedule, even them having one of the more friendlier schedules in the SEC, I think you have 5 outs on that schedule.
Well, and it's part of why I think that performance by Georgia against Texas was just so. I mean, hell, I'd even say
it was dominant.
It was outlandish.
It was
how
dominant.
Good they were. Like and you look at it and you say, okay, well, do people remember that? Because I remember it. I remember watching that game saying, "Holy cow!" Like
Georgia's defense is bad.
Like, hey, it's Kirby versus Sark in preparation, and who's going to win that battle during the week? And Kirby clearly won it. And so you sit here and you listen to Lane talk about, hey, well, I talked to other coaches in our conference, and the risk reward quotient of going to the SEC championship game just isn't there for most coaches. We would rather just get into the college football playoff with an at-large bid, because then we don't have to worry about bye weeks and all this additional stress and like how we're going to go about that. We can just stay right in the flow. Like it makes sense. So that's why I say, like, for all the people doubting the Super League concept and basically just streamlining this whole process, you're crazy if you think that's not going to happen, because once we get to the NFL model where we can say, okay, cool, we don't have to judge your schedule, right? We're all playing, everybody's playing everybody. We're all playing the same teams, and we're just going to get an NFL model where we can say, yep, Texas is going to play Notre Dame, or you're going to play him. Like it's just all laid out on the field, bro.
If you're Kalen DeBoer, do you want to go to the SEC championship game? Because if Bama wins out, they're probably top 8, top 6, right? Because the likely scenario is that if Alabama wins out and Missouri wins one of its final 2 games and they're favored this weekend, Alabama goes to the SEC championship game.
Right.
Now, depending on who they face, my biggest question is, do you really want to run into somebody like a Texas who has the next highest chance of winning the SEC at 38%? Do you want to, who are you putting Georgia, Bama, and Texas in? If Alabama and Texas go to the SEC championship game and Alabama loses that game, does Alabama get in?
At that point, they're 3.
Yeah. So
No,
you're wondering,
you're
do they
in.
get it? So does Alabama really want to go to the SEC championship game? Because if they don't go, I think they're almost certainly
But on
in.
the flip side, and this is what Lane's talking about, on the flip side of, hey, you're going to go to the SEC championship game and run into Texas. What happens if you lose? Well, your season's over. But isn't that what they've been facing for a month now? Isn't that what? And this is my point to guys like Lane who talk about not wanting to go to the SEC championship game, or other coaches. Is that not the job? Is the job not to week in and week out prepare your football team to play in the biggest games? Is that not why you went to ESPN and why you wanted to be in the SEC? And like I understand there's risks there. But the worst thing that happens is you don't go to the college football playoff, and everyone's talking about how Kalen DeBoer in his first year went to the SEC championship game and they played their ass off. And, it's not like this is what my point to SEC coaches is. The world's not ending if you go to the SEC championship game, you grind it out and you lose one. It is what it is, bro. Like you play in the SEC, it's going to happen. You're not doing what LSU is doing this year. Like,
who's the best team in the SEC then?
I mean, I think you have to lean towards Georgia. I think if Georgia,
the way they're playing now,
Georgia versus anybody, you're probably leaning Georgia.
I mean, if that Ole Miss game is in better conditions, but it wasn't, and they lost.
And it wasn't like Ole Miss put on some offensive clinic. They won that game defensively.
No, it was the field conditions were awful, and Carson Beck's a mid-ass quarterback.
Yeah.
I think Alabama's the best team in the SEC, and I think it's because of Carson Beck. Georgia's the best team in the Big Ten. You put Georgia in the Big Ten, they win the Big Ten.
Yeah.
You put Georgia in the ACC, they would dominate. That league's the very fact that SMU is competing to be the best team in the ACC tells you the struggle that league is.
It's embarrassing, dude. Like
Georgia wins the ACC, Georgia wins the Big Ten, and I think Georgia wins the Big 12.
Yeah.
I think that's the problem for every other conference in the country. Is that I think the second and third best teams, Texas, look at how the interesting part about Texas is Texas was not elite for how many years? Sark shows up, they recruit, they develop talent, he builds a staff that's elite, And their last year in the Big 12, they were unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're competing for an SEC championship.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're the best team in the Big 12. They're the best team in the ACC. I don't know. Is Texas defensively up front able to compete with the best offensive lines in the Big 10? That would be my question.
Even if they weren't, though, the linebacking in the secondary is elite. So
I think
I
think they would be very close to the best team in the Big 10.
I mean, I would love an Oregon-Texas game just because Dylan Gabriel his deep ball is just so on point that it stretches the secondary.
I would love to see Oregon's offense against Texas's secondary.
Yeah,
that would
be the kind of game where you're like, okay, cool. Like if we could get, if we could see an Oregon-Texas matchup, that would be phenomenal. That would be great. But again, this is my point. It goes back to the Greg Sankey, podcast bite that we always play where he's like, hey, it's not our job to come back to earth. And I agree with that sentiment. The SEC is so far and away better than the other three conferences. And I include the Big Ten in that. I think the SEC is head and shoulders better than the other three, that I don't even have to worry about. Like for Oregon, you damn well better go undefeated.
You better.
Like if you're a one-loss team in the Big Ten, you've got nothing on an SEC team. You have to be undefeated.
And I look at the middle of the SEC, Ole Miss, South Carolina, Texas A&M, because I don't think Texas A&M's elite by any stretch of the imagination. If you look at the teams that are in the middle, is Ole Miss elite? I think they're not elite, but they're really good.
They're the best team not in the top cut.
Ole Miss would be undefeated in the Big 12.
Agreed. Yep.
Ole Miss, I think, could be undefeated in the ACC.
Yep.
Because I think Ole Miss is significantly better than Miami, who I think is the best team in the ACC. And you just can't have Cam Ward play the kind of football he's played lately with the turnovers and the bad throws.
Yeah, I mean, think about what Ole Miss has done. You look at their schedule. They've shown you they can put up 50 points. The only difference is Jackson Dart's not turning the football over constantly the way Cam is.
Yeah. Yeah. And Missouri, if candies and nuts, they have so many injuries. LSU probably wins the Big 12 in the ACC.
Think about what we're talking about with LSU this year in the SEC, just to bring this home. LSU's not good this year. And we're still talking about the SEC having potentially 4 teams at least, if not 5, in the playoff. And so my point is, in a year, think about the SEC when you've got LSU, Texas, Ole Miss, Bama, and Georgia.
Yeah.
Look at that. Like, the Big Ten has nothing on that. Like, you're not, like, sorry, Michigan fan, you're not doing anything with that. Like, it's just not happening, dude.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think yeah. Anyway, less of us, more of you. Let's see. Calford gives 10 Monty Show memberships. Calford, appreciate you. Always good to see you, my friend. Can we talk about, like, you guys? I don't know why it continues to happen, but you guys continue to get the whole emoji thing. Knock yourself out, dude. I'm just telling you, stop DMing me asking me to take you out of YouTube jail. I'm not doing it. If you guys want to fuck around with like the comment section and get banned, excuse my French, that's up to you, man. You put all emojis in your comment section.
Around and find out.
You're going to get filtered. And please don't DM me and ask me to take you out of YouTube jail, because I'm not doing it. I am not doing it. And yesterday, and I'm not going to call people out, but you guys getting pushed out of the comment section like, hey, can you put me back? No, man, I'm not. And I guess I understand it's cool and fun, but I'm not putting you back in.
I mean, I know this is rocket science. You guys could just put a normal comment in the comment section.
And then when you use emojis, don't say that it's my fault. Because it's not. DK, a member for 5 months. DK. I think this level of parity in college football makes this season one of the best we've had. There's a lot of teams that could win the title. I think parity is a very interesting word.
I will agree that the
interesting word.
The outlook of how many teams could win the national championship is very good right now. Really good.
I think parity is. This has been a tough year for a lot of teams. I mean, a very tough year. Stupid. Good morning, stupid. Michigan NOA time's up on Monday. What does that mean? I don't know what
does that mean?
I don't know what NOA means.
Notice of allegations. I guess.
That could be. That very well could be the Chad Carter. So I'm a little tired about hearing about the SEC, but it's real nice not to be hearing about anything related to conference realignment. What a great season this has been so far.
But
Well,
what choice do we have, man?
for
I mean,
Ohio State, I think it's been a great season. That loss to Oregon's probably going to haunt you. But I think it'll be very interesting to see. Very interesting to see. Does Ohio State beat Indiana?
the fact that we have to ask that question.
I think they do. I think Ohio State is significantly better than Indiana, especially at the shoe. I think Will Howard is playing. There's obviously the Ohio State contingent has been pushing him for Heisman. He's not a Heisman Trophy contender. But boy, howdy, has Will Howard played some good football.
The thing that concerns me about the Indiana matchup is the physicality of Indiana. They know they're an underdog. They know they have no business winning this game. And because of that, they're just going to be looking to basically punch you in the face and say, hey, we're Indiana. We're more physical than you. We're going to turn you over. And if they can score on those turnovers, then we'll probably have a game. But again, this brings us right back to what we said 5 minutes ago. I don't have to wonder if Texas or Georgia or Bama would beat Indiana. Those teams would throttle Indiana. I have no doubt. No doubt even at all. I don't trust Ryan Day, and I don't trust that Ohio State is going to ball out. It's at the shoe. They should win the game. But how do you win the game? What kind of game do we play? Is it dominant? Can you drop 40 on Indiana's defense? Probably not.
I think you can.
Well, we'll see.
I think people get all caught up in they're really physical. What's Ohio State?
Not physical sometimes. They weren't physical against Oregon.
Their line play is physical. They're big dudes. When their offensive line is healthy and figured out, and now it clearly has been better the last 3 weeks. Ohio State, their linebackers, it's not like their linebackers are like, hey, can you fall down so I don't have to hit you? I don't feel like Ohio State's got some bros. And I understand. I'm a little worn out, and I'm not even an Ohio State fan again, but I'm a little worn out hearing about how physical Indiana is going to be with Ohio State. Well, what is Ohio State going to be? Is Ohio State just going to lay down?
No, but I think that there's doubts about Ohio State, man. Ohio State hasn't done enough to be like, yeah, without a doubt, they're going to beat Indiana. That's the problem.
I think that you have some of the best. I think some of the best wide receivers in the country. I think I look at statistically speaking, you probably have the second best quarterback in the league in Will Howard. And if we look at offensive numbers, I mean, Ohio State is very similar to Indiana in passing statistics, right? So I just go and I look at who's played who and what have those matchups look like. And if I look at Indiana's schedule, Florida International, Western Illinois, UCLA, Charlotte, Maryland, Northwestern, Nebraska, Washington, Michigan State, and Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
They have not been tested this year. What is and you want to talk about outs. Where's Penn State on Indiana's schedule? Where's Oregon on Indiana's schedule? Where is Iowa on Indiana's schedule? Because those are the top 5 teams beyond Indiana. Indiana has played nobody. Oh, but they're physical, Monty. Okay. It's cool that you're physical against a Nebraska team that's waning, that is playing really bad football right now, inexplicably. They've gotten worse as the season's gone on. It's cool that you're physical against Washington at your place. It's cool that you're physical against a really bad 2-5 Michigan State team. It's cool that you're physical against a pretty average Michigan team. Where's the quality win on their schedule? Look, and I respect Kurt Cignetti. I know he's got like a 72-year contract extension he just signed. I get it.
I win. Google me.
He's the best coach anybody's ever heard of. if you win at the Shoe this weekend, all the flowers for you, dude. Like, I'm here to coronate you. I am here to bootlick, whatever you need me to do.
You're a homer is the first part.
This is going to be the best team that you've played in. It ain't close. And you want to go to the college football playoff. If Indiana loses to Ohio State, they should be out of the playoff scenarios because they haven't earned it. Oh, but Monty, they're 10-0. Your mom would be 10-0 with that schedule. Frankly, if again, play the game. If they're in the Big Ten, they're 10-0. Okay, against that schedule in the Big Ten, find me BYU would be 10-0 with that same schedule. Confidently, I can say that. I think Colorado would be 10-0 against that schedule. Oh, but Monty, they're physical. Okay, great. FIU, I mean, wow, directional Illinois. Did you guys see how physical Indiana was against directional Illinois? Holy cow. My God.
You better hope that Ohio State wins by 30.
I don't care. I don't have a dog in the fight. So if Indiana beats Ohio State, I'm happy to say, hey, Indiana beat Ohio State at the Shoe. Nothing else to talk about here, friends. I'm happy to say it. The chances of Indiana going to Columbus and winning that game are slim and none.
See, I just disagree. I think that Ryan Day is not to be trusted. I think that Ohio State, and it comes down to how they're preparing. I would assume Ryan Day is not allowing them to take this lightly, obviously. But, it's just it comes down to I don't trust Ryan Day and I don't trust Ohio State to win the games they should win. And Ohio State repeatedly makes games nervous. They keep the game too close. They don't in the big games. They're not making the plays to put teams away. It's the Oregon game. Had multiple opportunities to pull ahead in that game. Had multiple opportunities to go out and get a job done, and you didn't do it. And everyone wants to focus on Will Howard running down the field to end that game. And I want to focus on the fact that you were unable to get Jeremiah Smith open. I want to focus on the fact that Judkins was a ghost in that game, that you played terrible football in that game. So I understand that was earlier in the season. You're a different team now. Okay, cool. But I'm not trusting Ryan Day to go out and get a W over a team that has played nobody. I think that Indiana knows what people are saying. They're well aware. Hey, you haven't played anybody. You don't deserve to be in the college football playoff. Like they're here for that. They understand that. So if you're Indiana and you're an underdog going to the Shoe, you've got nothing to lose because you shouldn't have been here anyway. So you're going to go out and you're going to play fast, free football, and you're just going to do what you do and see if it's good enough. But on the other side, and this is my question for Ryan Day and this team, there's pressure on Ohio State to win this game. There's pressure on Ohio State to not only win the game, but to win it comfortably and control the game and to show that you're better quality. And that's where I agree that Ohio State should win this game, but I'm not convinced that they're going to win this game by, 20 points. I feel like this is less than 10 points of a win for Ohio State.
So do you feel like Ohio State's not tested, not proven?
I feel like Ohio State, they've played Oregon. They've played good competition, but I don't feel like they've done enough.
They went to Oregon and they should have won that game. They went to Penn State and they did win that game. Convincingly. And the point on Judkins is they've gotten better at running the ball. Chip Kelly's play calling has gotten more balanced. And I don't know. I just think I'm not ready to. Everybody loves to crown a champion. Everybody loves to crown a champion in October.
All I'm saying is I don't trust Ryan Day. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying Indiana's better than Ohio State. I'm not even saying I expect them to win the game. What I am saying, though, is I'm worried. I am concerned. I am not confident that Ohio State will beat this team convincingly. We'll beat them to a point where people are like, yeah, you know what, Indiana, 10-0 was cool and everything, but you didn't play anybody. And now that you're playing Ohio State, we see what it is. I'm not convinced that'll be the storyline.
We'll see. We'll see. I mean, it all bears out, right?
What is the line on the game right now?
671 in favor of Indiana.
Are they
Indiana's
by like
a 7,000 point favorite.
Yeah, where are we at on this game right now?
Ohio State's favored by 11.5.
What do you think of that?
I think that's too low.
Okay.
I think that's too low.
All right.
And it's dropped. Excuse me. It's It's down a point. It was 12.5. I think they should be 13.5, which is 2 touchdowns essentially.
Yeah.
Because,
we'll see. I hope they beat the hell out of Indiana. I hope we can put Indiana to bed. But
the problem that I have is if you look at the statistics in the Big Ten, Indiana has not been tested. They have not played anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And their numbers are not as good as Ohio State. Like you look at with Judkins being injured this year. I think didn't he have like a broken arm or something? I can't remember. Do you understand that when you look at their rushing numbers, Ohio State is tied for 3rd in the league in rushing at 1,838 yards, 22 touchdowns. Indiana on exponentially more attempts, 379 attempts, 1,700 yards, 32 touchdowns rushing against nobody. Yep. Not against the beef up front at Penn State where they ran the ball to win the game. Not against Oregon. Not against, the numbers, you look at total defense. Look at the total defense off opponents' points per game. Indiana, 13 and 14 points a game, Monty. That's all they're giving up against 2. And I would remind you, Ohio State is giving up 10 points a game, and look who they've played. I love that we all want Cinderella's slippers. I get it. I understand. You want to put the slipper on Kurt Cignetti's foot, and again, he's got a 58-year contract, and
right.
Again, I'll just go back to the fact your mom and her sewing circle are beating directional Illinois.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to be a red ass about it. I'm happy for Indiana fans.
I don't think that you're being a red ass about this at all. I don't think that your stance, I don't think it's outlandish in any way, shape, or form. But I know for a fact you and I agree that Ryan Day is not to be trusted. I know we agree on that because we've talked about it. So, you're favored by 11.5 points we just saw. Okay. For college football's sake and the Big Ten's sake, Ohio State needs to go out and win this game by 3 possessions. Go out, beat the hell out of them in the first half, make it a joke in the second half. If you do that, then
they can't do that. Indiana's really physical up front, man. Look at how physical Indiana. Hoosiers.
You're really lucky you're on vacation next week.
The Hoosiers, bitch. I'll live stream. Follow me on Twitter. I don't give a rat's ass. I'll live stream after the game on Saturday. I don't care. Oh, I won't. I'll be seeing Gladiator without you.
Yeah.
I'll live stream after the game. I don't care, man. I don't care.
Listen,
if Indiana wins that game, you will not have to work hard to find me giving them credit. If you go to Columbus and you win against this Ohio State team, you have accomplished something.
If they beat Ohio State, what do they move up to? 3rd in the country? 2nd in the country?
Sure. I mean, make them number 1. They'd be the best team anybody's ever seen anywhere, ever. If they lose, I don't want to hear another word about
they better
Indiana.
be out of the top 25, Marty.
I am so sick and tired of hearing about, oh, man, Indiana, goddamn. Isaiah Thomas and Steve Alford played basketball. Jeremiah Champion back in the membership. Thank you. Calford gifts 10 more Monty Show member. Oh, hey. Before I get back to the comment section and everybody probably ripping me on Indiana, let's
what that's like these days?
Let's go ahead and just, speaking of flowers, what did I tell you, hyenas, yesterday? I told you I was good looking, right? Every day on this show. In all seriousness, finally, Chaboy is back in Prize Picks. Finally. After John Collins essentially the other night, why would I ever bet on John Collins and the Jazz? I don't know. But why would I bet on Joe Mixon and the Texans? Because they were playing the Cowboys.
Yeah.
Joe Mixon last night was half a touchdown. Joe Mixon last night on a demon was 1.5 touchdowns.
A demon.
So I took Joe Mixon on 1.5 touchdowns. My God, Paul Skeens' girlfriend. Is that Libby Dunn? Hey, baby. Joe Mixon had 3 touchdowns last night.
Why win? Google me.
CJ Stroud, 254 yards and a half. Last night, he had 257.
Google me.
And then, because, of course, when you look up and down the boards and you say, hey, Marty, how did Soul Train Devin Booker do last night? And you're like, well, of course, Devin Booker came through. And you want to know how close I was to losing last night? 3 for 3. Devin Booker had 3.5, more or less, 3-pointers. I was like, I better just take him on points, rebounds, and assists, right? Where he was 23.5. 17 points, 2 rebounds. Oh! And 5 dimes for 24. Woo! Let's go. Why, you ever question my greatness? That's right. 42-50 into the kitty. Thanks to Joe Mixon, the great. No, I'm not even going to say it. Tonight, I think the absolute gimme in the NBA is LeBron James against the Spurs, 43.5 points, rebounds, and assists.
I'm sorry, who?
LeBron James,
La Flag Bearer.
La Flag Bearer. Bronny's daddy. La Dad. La Sperm Donor. La Cap is 43.5 points, rebounds, and assists. Don't say I didn't warn you. You got to take that. Yeah. I know it's Victor Wambin, your mama. Victor's the way.
Man, Victor, Rookie of the Year, MVP, Sophomore of the Year. You know.
Victor's the way.
Big Daddy Magic is sending me videos in the dark. We should start playing these on the show.
Dude.
I love my guy, Big Daddy Magic. But again,
Big Daddy Magic sending me videos in the dark. Hello.
That's him talking to me about
Hello.
The beloved MVP Josh Allen ran it on 4th and 2, got a touchdown. That's why he's your MVP. What are those? Oh yeah, it's the winner. And hey, the leprechaun got returned. BYU lost in Kansas City.
No,
they lied and cheated the way out of the
that was in Provo, bud.
Stadium. It's not been a good November for you. Trump won in a landslide. Your beloved BYU Cougars are not undefeated.
My beloved.
They should be 8-2. And Patrick Kermit, the Frog Mahomes.
Kermit.
Threw an interception. The MVP, Josh Allen, winning the game. I hope he has an umbrella because he's going to have to drive through all the women. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. So now let me get this right. I'm a BYU fan. I'm a Kansas City Chiefs fan.
Wow, man, that was... Whew, bro.
Stay hard.
Big Daddy Magic for the. At least he's not nude in this one because he sends me some. He said,
"Who is he? Mike Tyson?"
Bro, no, God, don't tempt him, please, dude. You joke. He sends me videos like this. Like, this is him with a bunch of cash. Like, what, bro?
What are we doing?
What are we doing?
What are we doing?
Hey, player. I got 1,000 on Donald Trump winning today.
That's what I live with. Hello?
Hello.
Well, I want to play that video. Oh, I have a ton of them.
Hello.
Oh, I won't play. Is it too old to play it? He sends me videos all the time.
Anyway,
yeah. You guys, it is the single greatest. It is the single greatest part of my day.
Yeah.
That Big Daddy Magic sends me nudes. And
wow.
I'm just telling you.
Wow.
That's my guy. But he's going. LeBron, LaCap, LaDad, LaDonor is going up against Victor Wembanyama, the unicorn tonight. I don't even know if Victor is going to play. He's hurt. 43.5. Take it on Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app. Use the promo code Monty. Stop DMing me on Twitter. Like, I get a new phone. You want to know how miserable my life is? I get a new phone, and now I can't turn off my notifications on stuff. And it's like I get so many DMs on Twitter. It's wild. Because you guys know I don't read my comment section on notifications. It's just Jackwagon City.
Yeah.
Who's in my comments? Who's in my notifications?
Oh,
look at that. Loner phone.
Oh, boy.
Loner
Here
phone.
we go.
Oh, dear. Oh, my.
What is Loner phone railing about in the God almighty, you guys. That was 7 days ago, Loner phone. Anyway, it's death and destruction.
Yeah.
Again, he sends me another one 11 hours ago. I go back to the top here. Oh, thank you, Brett. Brett on Twitter says, you have my son wanting to do a podcast now. Thanks for nothing. Anything I can do to help.
Anything we can do, bro. Thank you. Thank you.
Loner phone says, look up stats of Pitt Clemson, sir. Pitt outperformed Clemson in every metric but the final score. Who cares? Pitt's oh God. Are you a Pitt fan? How are you? There's nobody's a Pitt fan.
Yeah, come on.
Pitt's an average ass team. It is. It's fine. Rocky Quintero's mom. Rocky Quintero's mom. This is the first DM in my stack. Rocky Quintero's mom. Monty, I used to like your show, but you've turned into an SEC honk.
Oh.
This bullshit about Georgia being the best team in the Big 12 is ridiculous. Who's paying you? So because I think that...
Are you serious right now, bro?
Because I think that Georgia would be the best team in the Big 12. Somebody's paying me.
Go Big Red Machine.
Okay. Thank you for validating why I do not get into the DMs.
What's it like to be an SEC show? Confirmed now.
And what's it like to be Rocky Quintero's mom? Do you guys see what I deal with on a daily basis in my that's
Rocky Quintero's mom.
This is why I don't get into Twitter. It's why I
started having second thoughts.
My God. Calford gives us 10 more Monty Show memberships. Thank you. What do you guys think of CU versus Kansas? Colorado is the best team in this conference right now.
Well, it's an opportunity for Colorado. Clearly a measuring stick game as far as the Big 12 is concerned.
What does Colorado have left on the schedule? At Arrowhead and then Oak State. That's right.
That should be 2-0.
They should.
2-0.
They'll win both of those games. I think the biggest difference, and listen, I think when you look at Kansas, Jalen Daniels has got to be better with the football. BYU. And this is what I said the other day that I'm sure Loner Phone's all pissed off about because, well, he woke up and he's pissed off. BYU left so many points on the field. I mean, 3 interceptions. They had their hands on 3 interceptions. Jake Retzloff throws that interception. They don't kick the field goal. The one that Allen had, the interception that Allen should have had was a pick 6. And it went literally right through his hands. So let's assume that's a pick 6. 7 there, 7 on the Retzloff interception, 3 on you guys. That's 17 points right there.
Yeah.
And you take possession away from Kansas, who the Will Allen interception is the one they went down and scored on. So if Isaiah Glasker catches that football in the flat, that's a pick 6. I like Kansas's fight. They clearly have not quit on Leipold, and he's done a great job bringing that team back to the field week in and week out after some real adversity. They're not a detail-oriented, scheme-sound football team. And the thing that I felt like they got exposed a little bit against BYU is you can stop the run if your backers on the edge have discipline. If you force Jalen back to the middle when he's running the football, you can contain him and Neal.
Yeah.
And it'll be interesting to see if Deion does the same thing. And I would have to believe they do. The win at Colorado is not Deion Sanders. It's Warren Sapp. Those defensive tackles are playing as well as any defensive tackles in the country.
And I also think, let's say that Colorado makes the same mistakes BYU did. They're still going to be able to score with Kansas. They're not going to have trouble scoring.
I would agree.
That's the difference.
I would agree. Oh, boy. Oak State James.
Oh, boy.
What do we think this comment's about?
This is something about Oklahoma State. Guaranteed.
Oak State should play Utah in the Irrelevant Bowl.
Oh, dear. Oh, my.
Played at Snapdragon Stadium so San Diego State can get the ticket money. They will get the pro rata they deserve.
Good effort.
I don't know why you're trying to hit your... Oklahoma State's one of the worst teams in the country. Inexplicably, because it's not like you got a ton of injuries, and it's not like you're just not good. You still have a guy that should be the best running back in all of college football, and you can't figure it out. That's what's crazy to me.
Mm-hmm.
So, at least Utah can make tears. UW fan Jim, BYU winning with smoke and mirrors, and they ran out of smoke. Okay. You've turned into violence. BYU is not winning with smoke and mirrors. Plain and simple. BYU was winning with really good defense, and they were getting really good execution in critical moments. And then you fell asleep on a pooch punt, and it hit you in the head. And everybody in the comments section, all the BYU fans, saying, well, no, nobody practices for a pooch punt. Every player on that roster practices special teams. Why do they do that? Well, because of situations just like that. You have depth issues. Everybody this time of year has injuries. So every guy is running down on kickoffs and punt coverage. Every single guy is working special teams. With the exception of like a Jake Retzloff, let's say. Or every guy is running down. If you don't understand when the ball's in the air that you have to identify that football and you have to get out of the way, you shouldn't be on the football team. If I have to explain to you when there's a football being kicked off the foot of your opponent in the air, you've got to find the football. Because what did most of BYU's guys do? Yelled and screamed where the football was. Except the one guy who hit him right in the top of the head. It's inexcusable.
Yeah.
They were not winning with smoke and mirrors. Tell me you haven't watched BYU football without telling me.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a
little burned out on the red assery from you, Jim. I got to be honest with you, man.
You can't say that BYU was winning on smoke and mirrors. That tells me you haven't seen them play.
Yeah.
BYU, whether it was the SMU game with the read option, whether it was the Oak State game where BYU made just a litany of mistakes in that game. But they got several critical runs and several critical throws out of Jake Retzloff on the final two drives. That's not smoke and mirrors. That's out executing your opponent. You look at the Utah win. It's unquestioned now. Did everybody see Rick Neuheisel's mea culpa on that, by the way? Like, it's unquestioned it was the right call. But it doesn't even matter what's the right call because they went down the field and executed.
Yeah.
If that play had been the game-winning play, if they had called that penalty and then Farron kicked a field goal, okay, great. That's not what happened. That's what everybody will tell you. It wasn't smoke and mirrors. What happened was they out-executed Utah. You got beat by JoJo Phillips. He ran a better route than you covered, and you held him, and it was a penalty. And then you went down and made two more plays, and then Will Farron kicked a field goal. A guy kicking a field goal in that environment is not smoke and mirrors. It's not.
Yeah, and smiling on the sideline before he went out on the field to kick the field goal. Come on, bro.
It's not smoke and mirrors. It to me anyway. I think when you look at BYU, they execute at a high level in critical moments. And then Jake Retzloff threw an interception in the end zone. And listen, I'll continue to say this. If you are going to throw an interception in the red zone, you're going to lose. If you throw an interception in the red zone, in the end zone, you don't deserve to win. You don't deserve to win. If we are on November 16th, I think Saturday's date was, and you are a quarterback who can't hit the back pylon throw, you probably don't deserve to win that game. And I guarantee you, if he was sitting here right now, Jake Retzloff would tell you the same thing. Is it a good play call? It wasn't. Does that excuse a terrible throw? It doesn't. It's not smoke and mirrors. It's It just isn't. I think it's one of those things where you have to take your red assery out of it. You have to take your emotion out of it. And you have to understand, you don't accidentally get to Indiana. You don't accidentally get to 10-0. They've executed and they haven't played anybody.
Yeah.
When you are Oregon, you're not accidentally 10-0. You probably have the best quarterback play in the country. It's either him or Jalen Milroe the last 3 weeks. Dylan Gabriel or Jalen Milroe, take your pick. Yeah. That's why Alabama's winning. Jalen Milroe's kicking people's ass, right? It's not accidental. When your quarterback plays at a very high level, you're going to win games. If you look throughout why is Clemson winning games or losing games? Klubnik, period. Next, Cam Ward. Why did Miami lose the game? Because Cam Ward's throwing interceptions from almost stepping out of bounds on the right. He's throwing it back across to the left. That's why they're losing games. BYU lost that game on Saturday night for a multitude of reasons. Retzloff threw a terrible interception, multiple drop passes, which had plagued that offense all season. And then you had a guy who just had no idea what he was doing when the ball was in the air.
And you refused to run the football.
Don't get me started on play calling. Fat old Mormon and dying. BYU is the best team in a bad conference. No, Colorado's the best team in that conference.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah.
Right. D-Rock Irish. BYU on a tightrope and cannot afford to misstep now. They'll be out of their conference championship game. You have zero room for error in Tempe on Saturday afternoon. You just can't have a mistake. You can't have a bobble. You can't. I would assume they will be a much better offense on Saturday.
I sure hope so, man.
They have got to be, this team has got to be, BYU's biggest problem is they lose focus on the details, the little things that matter most. And it's making sure it's not, last year it was Jake didn't know the offense, didn't have guys lined up, like made bad throws. This year it is wide receivers dropping footballs. This year it is a tight end not running a crisp route. This year it's Jake is throwing his deep ball should be middle. It's over the outside shoulder instead of inside where a guy can run under it. These are little things that you can clean up, and they haven't. And to Jim's point, they got away with certain things. They didn't get away with it because you had terrible, terrible, terrible execution in critical moments.
Yeah.
Do you guys remember that pooch punt against Kansas? Big stop on third down. Got off the field. They line up to go for it, Kansas. They pooch punt. You had gotten off the field. Your defense had made plays. That's not smoke and mirrors. So, is what it is. Bronco McFord. Let's be real. Rutgers would beat BYU. Rutgers would not beat BYU. As nice as the Rutgers story is, Rutgers would not beat BYU. Phil Venzer. Hello, Phil. The new Pac-12 conference is the worst football brands ever assembled. No, it's not. Boy, is it Red Ass Tuesday?
You're a UNLV fan just hating. Next comment. I wouldn't even. I just, you have to be better than this, guys. You have to come in here with, like, again, you take your emotion out of it. Phil, you're a UNLV fan just hating on the Pac-12. It's fine. Yeah. But, you know.
I disagree. BYU is a really good team. The problem is their wide receivers have been dropping passes all year. BYU is one wide receiver in the portal from being a team that makes the finals next year. I don't think they're one wide receiver away. BYU, I think, needs a dominant pass rusher that gets after the quarterback's ass. If they had, and you know the guy, I'm going to say, Logan Fano at Utah.
Mm-hmm.
He was at BYU, tore a knee ligament. Him and his brother went to Utah. Logan Fano is the guy that this defense needs. If you had a dominant edge player, BYU would be undefeated. Because Jay Hill I think he's the best defensive coordinator in the conference. I think what he's done with this group of talent, the growth and development of the linebackers back through the secondary has been unbelievable. They're healthier. Notice BYU's not decimated by injuries this year.
Yeah.
Strength and conditioning's much better. They're doing everything better. That's why they're winning, in my opinion. Oak State would let Ollie play defense. That's why they're losing. Wouldn't let Ollie play defense. Gundy standing on principles. There you go.
Business.
Standing on business. Man. There you go. Charles, it was smoke and mirrors, and I did not inhale here for the last 8 weeks. Okay, please make the case. How is it smoke and mirrors that BYU is 9-0? Because you're going to have to fight that, because I've watched every snap of BYU multiple times.
And nice of you to show up once every 2 weeks to hate on BYU.
I was at the bounce house against BYU. That team is definitely not smoke and mirrors. They are legitimately, they have a sound foundation on defense. They have a scheme, and they are well coached.
Yeah.
Their biggest issues are they don't have that kind of coaching on offense. I think Aaron Roderick is I'm not talking about play calling. Poison, poison, poison. It is what high school players scream on punts that need to get the F out of the way. It's not. Thank you. It's basic Pop Warner type stuff. I volunteer coached a Pop Warner team in St. Louis when I used to live in St. Louis. We worked on that play every day because it's one of those things where when the ball's in the air, you have to have coaching repetition that builds good habits. When you hear poison, 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 your head should immediately go up. And when you don't have, this is specifically a scenario where you don't have a guy back kick for a kick return. Because when he's back, you don't look at the football. When Parker Kingston, for BYU, who's their kick returner, is standing back there, you'll notice most kick returners are pointing where the ball is. Because what's the coverage blocking guy doing? Running in the opposite direction.
Yeah.
Because if that ball comes down and hits you, it's a turnover. Almost always it's a turnover. They didn't have a guy back there that wasn't their normal punt return. That's why you need to pound poison, poison, poison in your head, and you need to look up and find the ball. And they didn't do that. There you go. YouTube user Salty Virginia Peanuts. Another loss in BYU is out of the top 25 because they don't have margin for error.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, this ASU game is terrifying. The ASU game is terrifying. Terrifying. Steiny, BYU is an underdog this week at ASU. Yes, they are.
Yep.
And shouldn't they be? ASU's playing really good football. That's not an accidental 8-2 ASU team.
Yeah, and Scadabo's rested.
It's not accidental. Did you guys see that he got a sandwich at Cold Beers and Cheeseburgers? He got a sandwich named after him.
Yeah, you never been there? That place is legit.
Every location but Tucson. The ASU-Arizona rivalry is alive and well. Geoff, hello. How the heck are you? Norge Coog, 15 to 20 BYU fans in Tempe this Saturday. Speaking of which, if you don't like Kenny Dillingham, I'm not sure you have a heartbeat.
If you have tickets and you're an ASU fan, make sure they go to ASU fans, right? There's a lot of BYU fans in the Valley, right? So let's make sure if you're an ASU fan and you own a ticket and you're selling it or you're giving it away, make them show you an ASU hat or an ASU shirt, show something ASU in order to get that ticket. Because I think it's one of the most expensive tickets in college football right now. Are the tickets to this game on Saturday, and that's super exciting just because the environment for the guys when they run out of the tunnel, that's real. To be loud, right, on third downs, on fourth downs is real. And, I mean, I can't wait until we hit our first third down, their offense, our defense, and the place just stands up and erupts. And that's going to be exciting.
If you don't like Kenny Dillingham, you're broken.
Yeah.
I don't even know what else to say. I love that guy. I would run through a wall for that guy. And if you're a BYU fan, and for those of you who don't know, because we used to live in Arizona and Phoenix, there is a mammoth Latter-day Saint LDS church
is loaded with it.
Footprint there. Huge amount of LDS in the community there. That place It's 1:30 in the afternoon. I haven't even looked at what the weather's supposed to be. I'm going
to go out on a limb and say it's going to be sunny and warm.
I think I would probably agree with that. Saturday is supposed to be 77 and dry as hell. No wind, 77 degrees.
Yeah.
It's going to be a game. It's going to be a game, and it's a huge one. And I think that being a 3.5-point home dog means it's a pick 'em because the home team usually gets 3 points in Vegas.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a huge game. Huge game. Huge game. The stadium guy, James, my video on Twitter, X is not weird. Okay. I hope that works for you. I hope that works for you because you won't find me on Twitter or X.
Yeah.
Very rarely do I respond.
It's just not enjoyable anymore.
Kim Coulter, hello, Kim, was polling for BYU to get to the Big 12 championship game at 12-0. Lose to 10-2 Colorado. That was in our only way to get 2 Big 12 teams into the college football
Totally
playoff.
agree, bro.
That's dead.
And it's
I
so
agree with you.
frustrating that that dream is dead because BYU didn't execute.
Yeah. Roche, BYU's a great team. How is there hate? Because people want to hate. People want to stir the pot. BYU held Kansas to like 76 rushing yards and 275 total. BYU's defense is elite.
Yeah, they're a smoke and mirrors team, dude.
Yeah, they're smoke and mirrors.
Terrible.
And I don't understand it. Why people won't give BYU credit. And why is it so upsetting that Quintana's mom is DMing me on Twitter about how I just hate the Big 12 and I'm an SEC fan? Okay. This is not a good conference right now, and I'll just continue to preach. BYU is legit on defense, and Aaron Roderick is a sus offensive coordinator. Cap as hell, in my opinion. I hate the play calling.
Yeah.
Run the football. There's only good things that happen when you run the football. How many times are we going to put this team in 2nd and 10 because you called a passing play that did not work on first down? Don't get crazy. Run the football. Put Jake Retzloff in 3rd and manageable in play action opportunities because that cat dominates in play action. And you were running over Kansas. A really good run offense. You were dominating them on the ground.
But no, you want to call pass play into the end zone.
It makes me crazy that Aaron Roderick routinely puts this team behind the sticks. You just run the football, Aaron. If we're going to script 15 plays, give me 10 running plays and 5 passing plays.
Yes, make them prove they can stop the run.
Because I'm telling you now, if you keep giving Arizona State the football, they are going to beat up that defense. Scatabo is he's a wrecking ball. He will wear you out.
Yeah, he wants it.
You cannot explain to me how you have, I think they had a 15-play drive, BYU, to start the 3rd quarter. Just kick a field goal at the end of the first half.
Yeah, not difficult.
Don't get complex. Jake should have made that throw. I totally agree. Kick the field goal. Better play calling. Anyway, I could go on and on. Boyd Lake, hello. They were in the wrong cover formation for the situation on that punt for sure.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. It just wasn't a good performance all around. I don't believe for a second Kansas is actually better than you.
No.
I think you played like trash.
I don't think anybody thinks Kansas is better than BYU.
Yeah, I just think you played horribly. You just didn't do your job.
And you'll see the difference, even at Arrowhead Stadium, because I don't think that field means 2 tiddlywinks. Yeah, I just said that. To Colorado. I don't think they care. That's where they're meant to play. I think you're going to see them come out. I would not be surprised if they scored 40 more on Kansas.
Yeah.
I just would not be surprised. I wouldn't. Gig Addy. Hello, sir. Cheapest ticket on SeatGeek for the game is $335 right now. It's tough, dude. It's very tough. Yes, Boyd Lake. BYU is filling the concrete palace. It's sad. I wish I could go.
it is a concrete palace.
I really wish I could go. Isn't it though?
It's just, and I'm not even exaggerating. The whole thing is just, yeah.
Even at night, when we lived in Arizona, we probably went to a handful of games. We went to the Oregon game.
Yeah.
And you're just sitting there, and the heat coming up from the concrete is
immense.
Dude, really immense. Oh, look at that. Roche. Newest member of our YouTube channel, Roche. Thank you. Appreciate that, my guy. Thank you. Calford, did you give... I already read that one. My bad.
Yeah.
I was going to say, you didn't give us 10 more, did you? It's amazing. Let's see. Let me keep running through some comments because I also got the complaints that we're not reading enough comments.
Oh.
Ronnie Southern, hello. The 2-loss team left have no wiggle room. They lose, they're out, as it should be.
And that's my point about the SEC and Lane. Like, you're playing for your life every week anyway. Like, this isn't new.
No, it's not. Roche thinks BYU wins. I think it's going to be really close. Details will win this game. Details. Yasin Cowboy. Mesa, Arizona, the largest suburb in the U.S., is an LDS town.
Yeah, it is.
Yes, we used to live in Mesa. 34-27 BYU. Ooh. BYU 26-21, K. Nurin says. Hello, K. UW fan Jim. Monty, I might be the only person in here that watches as much college football as you. Then I don't know how you come up with the idea that BYU was smoke and mirrors.
Yeah.
If you watch any at all of BYU football.
So just so we're on the same page, you watch the whole game live. Then you go back and you watch probably an hour of game footage and every play over and over again, looking at the lines, looking at all three levels. Like, when we say we watched the game, it's not that we stayed up eating nachos watching the game. Like, yeah, we watched the game, but we're going through it and analytically breaking it down.
Understanding what happened on the pooch punt. Understanding
what the hell Jake Retzloff was looking at on that interception. Because, by the way, what nobody's talking about is nobody was open.
I think he expected that watching that play. I think he expected the tight end not to run to the pylon because he didn't throw it anywhere near it.
He was looking for, in my opinion, a little back shoulder fade play where the tight end he was trying to give the tight end the jump ball. That's what he was trying to do.
I think that's right.
And the tight end just, and again, this is what I say, like, I agree it's not a great throw, but if if we have a better play call where we're just running the football, that play never happens. That you never.
No, it's not on that play. It's earlier in that drive. And I understand it. You're in 2 minute. The other thing that BYU does that drives me crazy, they don't value timeouts. They burn too many easy timeouts. It absolutely makes me crazy. It is. And if you're a BYU fan, I think you probably know that, but it is just flipping maddening that BYU burns timeouts like that.
Yeah.
Because that's when you wind up having a miscommunication with a tight end. And again, I'm just going to say, I'm a big believer in the red zone, especially inside of 5 yards when we're throwing the football. Throw it to Darius Laster or Chase Roberts.
Yeah.
Or throw it out of the back of the end zone and kick the field goal. You have an elite field goal kicker. Take the 3 points. You probably would have won the game. But you didn't. You would have had 3 points. You came out and ran a 15-play drive, but you didn't. Is what it is. Calford gifts 10 more. Monty Show memberships. Appreciate you. Boyd Lake, BYU needs to play fast. Make ASU play from behind. You don't want a slugfest with ASU. You do not. Hey, let's have a contest and see who can run the ball better.
Hey, Morty.
Scadabo's going to win that one. What I want to see a shootout. I need Jake Retzloff because Aaron Roderick's going to call it. We all know it. I need him to hit that first deep throw.
Yep.
I need him to hit that first one. Scadabo can't be bargained with. It can't be reasoned with. It doesn't feel pity, remorse, or fear, and absolutely will not stop ever until you are dead.
Facts. It's true.
Bro, did you guys see Fred Warner the other day for the Niners? He played 3 snaps with a broken face mask. Go back and look at the tape. The bolt on the side of his helmet broke. His face mask is like this. This side's attached. This side's just, you look at it. It's one of the craziest things I've ever seen, speaking of Scadabo, because that's what he does to people's faces. Fat Jesus, good to see you. Cam Harrison, hello. Good morning. Shout out to Mo Bamba. Mo Bamba.
Mo Bamba.
Shout out to Mo Bamba.
Exactly. Mike Chase, hope you and the family are well. I hope BYU wins, but they are going to have to be assignment sound. Play action all day long. Midweek Coug. A 3-loss SEC. Hello? A 3-loss SEC team will make the playoff, probably. I'm with Lane Kiffin. If you're just tuning in here this morning, Lane Kiffin made a really interesting point about going to the SEC championship game. Should you want to go to the SEC championship game? We'll talk about that in 15 seconds on the Monty Show.
When you've been injured in an accident, you need a lawyer, and you deserve an advocate. Insurance companies don't always play fair, but we can keep them in check. Most cases settle out of court, but we'll take your case to trial if necessary. You deserve an advocate.
Yes, you do. The Advocates at theadvocates.com, the best injury attorneys in the business. And I should pass along, very thankful for all of the donations. We got thousands of dollars donated to the Advocates and the Thanksgiving Heroes. Really appreciate everybody who donated. Really appreciate the effort that went into that, because feeding hungry kids, it's just so heartwarming to know that people care. Because sometimes in this world, we get into a position where we don't think about those hungry kids, right? Like Sub for Santa is going to be our next thing. And we don't think about the Sub for Santa stuff.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate that very much. The Monty Show, presented by the Advocates. Don't forget to find us on Spotify, where you can watch our video podcast now. Yes, we are back on Spotify. It is all video. Just search The Monty Show on Spotify. Monty, The Monty Show on Spotify. You can watch or listen to our podcast on Spotify. We appreciate being partners with those guys. Thank you to everybody who watches us on Spotify, Facebook, Twitter, occasionally TikTok, always on YouTube. Make sure you give us a thumbs up, hit the like button. Should you want to go to your conference championship game, and maybe this is the question in the Big Ten and in the SEC, I don't think you have a choice if you are in the Big 12 or the ACC, because if you don't go to the conference championship game, what are the chances that you make the college football playoff? I'm going to say there's not a whole lot of chance, and that's why I wholeheartedly agree with Lane Kiffin about the SEC.
I don't know, I guess I would say, it's changed. The conference championship, could have a big impact both ways for people. So I've talked to other coaches, so I'll just kind of give you the feeling from some other coaches that, they don't want to be in it. And, the risk to get a bye, the reward to get a bye versus the risk to get knocked out completely, that's a really big risk.
I wouldn't want to go if I'm Lane Kiffin, because if you handle your business and you win out, Ole Miss is in the conference championship game. If I'm Alabama, I don't want to go to the conference champ. Let Missouri go to the conference championship game. Let whoever, Georgia, go for it, my guy. Kirby, congratulations. Because I don't think the bye is worth it. Get me into the college football playoff so I can cash that check.
Mm-hmm.
That, to me, that's what it's about.
I just think you're playing a dangerous game by not winning your conference.
I think that is something that you have to weigh, because with the soft-ass schedule that we've seen in the Big Ten, those guys aren't going to lose games. I look at what we've seen in the SEC. That's a meat grinder. And if I stay out of the SEC championship game if I can. If I'm Bama, Ole Miss, I don't want to go to the conference. Let Vanderbilt go win the conference championship. Let Mississippi State. Let somebody else have a chance. We're good just getting in. Let who's a bottom feeding us? Let LSU. Brian Kelly needs it. I don't need it.
Yeah.
If I'm Kalen DeBoer, I don't need it.
Yeah, I think the hard part is that, like when you think about a football team, it's hard to have the mentality of, hey, we're not trying to get to the conference championship game, but we're still trying to get into the CFP. Like, football teams are unique in the sense that all they're trying to do is beat every opponent every single week. then if you do that, you're going to go to your conference championship game. And to me, I think the thing that we can't just skip over with the conference championship game part is the advantage you do get with the bye week. I know that obviously the risk of losing that game maybe outweighs the reward of having the bye week, but instead of us worrying about losing, we should be focused on winning. And that's the part that I think that's the only part of what Lane is saying that I disagree with. I agree with the logic. Hey, there's a lot of risk in the conference championship game. If we could get in as a 2-loss team and, not have to play that game and, just focus on the CFP at that point, that's obviously ideal. But winning, it's never a bad thing to win your conference championship game and get a bye. And I think that's where that conversation changes for each team. For Ole Miss, I think he's exactly right. You don't want to be in the conference championship game. You'd rather be an at-large bid. For Alabama, for Texas, for Georgia, you damn well need a bye week. Your team is exhausted. You've played the best of the best, and a bye week would be much needed, much warranted, hugely beneficial. So I think that's kind of the hard part is like how to look at Oregon. Oregon not having played a real tough schedule, they don't really need a bye week, man.
No.
They need to stay in the groove. They just need to keep playing football and doing what they do.
Especially as well as Dylan Gabriel's playing now.
Yeah, you don't want to lose that momentum.
I can't stress to you enough, and I know not many people probably watch Oregon all season, but they are not the same team today that they were in September. They were not a very good football team in that Boise State game.
Yeah.
They're a far better football team now. And I think that Dylan Gabriel, if Travis Hunter was never birthed, Dylan Gabriel would win the Heisman Trophy. Travis is going to win it.
Yeah.
Especially because he's probably going to have a chance at an interception and a touchdown catch in every one of their remaining games. So, but if I am Alabama, I don't want to go to the SEC championship game, right? If Texas loses to A&M, I think you're going to have. I think it's going to be tough for Alabama not to go. I do. I think Ole Miss has to win out. Obviously, the win against Georgia, they have the head-to-head against the Bulldogs, so that's a huge hammer. Georgia beating Tennessee. The A&M Texas game, one of those two teams is out. It's going to be tough. I think it is going to be tough. If I'm Alabama, I really hope Texas and Georgia wind up in there somehow because I don't want to go. I think that's exactly how I would.
It's definitely tough. It's a tougher road, but I don't know, man. I don't ever want my team or my head coach feeling like, oh, well, we're just looking for the easiest path. I want them thinking, hey, we want to go, undefeated. Our goal is to go undefeated, win the conference, go to the CFP, take a run at the Natty. That's what your ambition should be for every SEC team. And I just think that there's a lot of head coaches in the SEC. And this is what I think Lane did not say, but I think if you read between the lines, you can kind of get the sense of it is like, hey, I talk to a lot of coaches. Okay, well, I can guarantee you, Kirby Smart's not sitting here saying they don't want to go to the championship game. Kalen DeBoer is not going to sit there and say they don't want to go to the championship game.
I would agree.
I think that Brian Kelly probably wants nothing to do with an SEC championship game. It just wants the easiest path. I think you look up and down, Mike Elko's probably sitting there feeling like, damn, we probably need the SEC championship game, but we don't want it. So I just think it's so program dependent. And like your stature in the conference really affects that decision and how you look at that.
Does Oregon want to go to the Big Ten championship game?
Yes, 100%.
You think so?
Oh yeah. Oregon, Dan Lanning wants to smoke. And I think Oregon understands that they're in the Big Ten. They can beat anybody in that conference, and they want it. They want to go in year one, win the conference, go to the CFP, compete for a national championship.
You're not at all worried about how they looked against Wisconsin. At Wisconsin. Now, it's Camp Randall, tough place to play, totally get it. But you're not at all worried about that?
Yeah, they didn't look great. Yeah, that wasn't a convincing win or anything. That wasn't some, oh, man, wow, blow them out of the water. But I again, the grinder of a season. We're at the end of a marathon here. All they got to do is win games now.
Yeah, I think that they have to. Oregon's got to find a way to stay sharp and just play a little bit better football. And they're who they play in the Big Ten championship game is a far more interesting.
I would love the Ohio State rematch. I would love to see it. But, if it was Penn State, that wouldn't be terrible. Even though I hate Penn State.
Yeah. I would love to see Oregon and Ohio State.
Yeah.
And all Ohio State's got to do is beat Indiana and Michigan.
Think about how different that game would be. Indoor, NFL stadium, in Ohio State's time zone, essentially a home game for that's a totally different game.
I think it is. I think Penn State's done. They need to win out, and they need Indiana and Ohio State to lose. And somehow I don't feel like that happens. Indiana obviously has to beat Ohio State. You're going to need everybody but Ohio. Ohio State controls their destiny.
Yes.
Ohio State wins out, they're in.
Yeah.
Period. So we'll see. It's going to be really interesting. I think the SEC is by far,
head and shoulders, bro.
By far. And yeah, you know what? Phenomenal Hebrew. Texas A&M needs to go to that game. There's no, because you look at I just think they've lost a lot of respect, right? Like you look at this one right here is a better indicator. You look at look how it's just so dominated by the SEC. But Texas A&M is 15th. That's an awfully tough road to hoe. They've got to beat Texas.
They have to. Not optional.
Can Texas A&M beat Texas? At that, I struggle with. That I don't know. I don't know the answer. I can't
On paper,
see that
no,
happening.
But again, you never know. You never know, man.
Do you think that's do you think Sark in that Texas group?
No, I think they're going to win the game. I do. But if you're A&M, you're going to be looking to create turnovers. You have nothing to lose. If you're, again, this is my point with where we are at in the season. You have to understand with certain teams, A&M's got nothing to lose by losing to Texas. Your season's already over. Now, if you beat Texas, we're having a different conversation. But if you lose, it's not like you're in any different position than you are now.
Yeah, they're not going. I think their only path to the playoff is to beat Texas because.
So my point just is if you know that that's your only path, this is what I say about Indiana and Ohio State. All you're going to do is you're going to go out and you're going to play pressure-free football and you're going to try and create chaos.
We'll see. Caleb Aylmore, hello. United by the hatred for the pedo. Hopefully Penn State doesn't get to the playoff. They're going to get to the playoff.
Yeah.
They're a team that'll benefit by not playing in the Big Ten championship game. They will. Mayor McCluskey, Mercer should be in the SEC championship game. 100%.
Clearly, dude. Clearly.
100%.
Well, Mercer's better than Indiana. We know that. So,
We'll see. Well, Roche, I hate every game OSU wins. God, there are so many teams. USC, everyone, Auburn, Georgia. I hate
the Packers.
Georgia. I hate.
Cairo Santos.
Shut up. Don't ever say his name again. Couple more. It's set up for the Aggies. Night game in College Station. I don't disagree with that.
Well, and LSU gets all the advantages. Nobody else plays night games.
I don't disagree with that. It'll be interesting to see how these scenarios play out. But I thought it was really interesting that you get Lane Kiffin saying the quiet part out loud. I agree 100%. You don't want to, if you're Alabama specifically, I don't want to go to the SEC championship game.
Yeah.
You don't. Let somebody else go. Let Texas A&M beat Texas. Fine. Alabama's better than Texas A&M. They just are. And I still maintain I'd be leaning towards Alabama, but Alabama or Georgia are the best team in that conference. And I think that Alabama and Georgia are better than anybody else in the country. When Jalen Milroe is playing like this, it's what worries me about Oregon at Wisco. When we were talking about Oregon earlier, I have a lot of trouble saying, hey, that's the best team in the country because Wisconsin's still rebuilding under Luke Fickell.
Yeah.
And they're not talented. That's what gives me a little pause. That's what gives me a little pause. All right, let's talk NFL football. Thanks to our friends at Prize Picks. Prize Picks. Download the app. Use the promo code Monty. NBA tonight. Deposit $5. Prize Picks will give you 50 more instantly. Here are my prize picks for tonight. I am all damn day on LeBron at 43 points, rebounds, and assists. You got to go more there. Although he's only at 8.5 rebounds.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't he have 3 straight triple doubles as well?
I believe that's correct.
Yeah, I think you're going to struggle to have better than that. LaMelo Ball, 40.5 points, rebounds, and assists against Brooklyn. 7 straight games he's beat that number. I think you got to go with that. I think you got to go. What is your level of confidence in LeBron?
Oh, it's pretty high. The only concern I have is playing Utah. How many minutes does he actually play?
No, aren't they playing San Antonio?
It says they're playing Utah on the app, but
maybe I was wrong. I apologize. Yes, I apologize. Yes, Utah. 42.5 points. It went down. Yeah, see, I think that was a mistake. 42.5 points, rebounds, and assists. LeBron has hit that number 2 of his last 5. And I agree with you. I worry about the minutes.
Yeah.
So maybe you go with Anthony Davis.
Anthony
Davis is 44.5 points, rebounds, and assists. 2 games in a row.
SGA's at 42.5 against San Antonio. Points, rebounds, and assists. That's a nice number.
That's a tough one to pass up.
Yeah.
God, fool me once on John Collins.
I'm not taking Jazz players. It's just too volatile. You don't know what you're getting. The games are different every single night. Like,
yeah, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. That's not a bad one.
I mean, I look at Bron's points, rebounds, and assists, 42.5. You were saying. I mean, look at the teams where he doesn't hit. I mean, he didn't hit that against their last team, New Orleans. He only had 33. Yeah. So, I mean, it might be there might be value there taking less on that against the Jazz, but
that's in LA.
Yeah.
Man, that's tough. In the comments section, LeBron James, 42.5 points, rebounds, and assists. No, Brandon, we've talked a lot of Jazz. But because John Collins essentially did not give me a reach around the other night.
I wouldn't say we've talked a lot of Jazz. I think that there's the problem is, man, what is there to talk about? Like, I'm not even trying to be a hater. I don't know, like, what are we supposed to? Are we like I saw going around Twitter the other day? Oh, we set all these records for hockey club jersey sales and like all the excitement. Okay, cool, man, great. Go knock yourself out. Like, awesome.
Yeah, that interested.
I just don't feel. I don't feel compelled to talk about this team mainly because they're not doing what they're supposed to do. What do you like? And I'm not even trying to be a red ass, Brandon. Like, what are we supposed to talk about? How Lauri's back randomly hurts on any given Tuesday because they're trying to tank, even though they're winning too many games already. Like, that's what's hard for me is I don't look at the Jazz and be like, oh well, man, there's so much to talk about because there's not. Like, nobody cares. Like, honestly, like right now with the Jazz. There is nothing of consequence happening. There's nothing,
There's nothing that you're excited about. Like, I think that's the...
Like, I'm looking for stuff to talk about last night and putting the show together, and I'm just like, yeah, well, man. Not like the Jazz just don't have much to talk about. We're not... Will Hardy's not going anywhere. He's not coaching for anything. They're not looking at making huge trades right now. Every Jazz fan and their mom is over the moon about Lauri's contract and feels like the Jazz are doing everything they can do. And I just have a different take on it. So I'm not really interested in fighting with Jazz fans about something that's, frankly, irrelevant. There's nothing there. And so, we don't talk a lot of Jazz right now because there's nothing to talk about.
All right, LaMelo Ball, 40.5 points, rebounds, and assists. I'm going more. LeBron James, 42.5 points, rebounds, and assists. I'm going less. Lauri Markkanen, 3 3-pointers, 2.5 3-pointers. I'm going more.
I'm going Melo Ball more than 34.5 points, rebounds, and assists.
Where'd you get 34.5?
Goblin. SGA, more than 42.5 points, rebounds, and assists.
You're soft.
And Donnie Mitchell, more than 4.5 rebounds.
You're soft.
Should be an easy win.
You're soft. All right, I put my lineup in. Download the Prize Picks app. Make sure you use the promo code Monty. That way you get one of the best promotions in daily fantasy I've ever seen. You deposit $5, they'll give you 50 more instantly. You can play the rest of the NBA season, certainly the rest of the college football and NFL season on $55. Yeah, I mean, easily. You deposit $5, they'll give you 50 more instantly at Prize Picks. Download the app, use the promo code Monty. All right. Can we talk about this Dallas Cowboys thing real quick? Because
which portion? Because there's like 8 portions of the Dallas Cowboys.
The Dallas Cowboys are a disaster. Like, do you guys? I'm assuming you saw that this metal fell from the heavens. So the Dallas Cowboys have not opened up their roof, I think, in 3 years.
Yeah.
They open it up last night, and what happens?
What is it?
That piece of metal fell off the roof when they opened the roof.
Look at this.
Stay speechless for just one moment.
All the way up there to all the way down on the field.
That's wild. You know how dangerous that is? And then if that wasn't bad enough, it's only one piece, Marty. Nobody was hurt. Yeah, there was also a second piece of metal that fell off. Bro. They closed the roof, and there were no more incidents. And then they got that ass whooped by Joe Mixon. Won me on Prize Picks. I mean, how do you fix this? And let's not talk about Jerry Jones being bequeathed and stuff. Like, that's 2 days in a row. How do you fix this? I don't think there's any way to fix it. Not in the short term. They already don't make good personnel decisions, and they're so cap strapped now because of how poorly they handled the contracts of Lamb and Dak. And I think it's pretty clear now that CeeDee Lamb's one of the problems. Dak Prescott is not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I don't know how you fix it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it starts with the willingness to trade Micah. I think that Micah has turned into somebody who is sort of this tipping point as far as the roster is concerned. It's not about whether he makes enough plays or his play on the field. He clearly makes enough plays, great player, franchise guy on the defensive side. Nobody doubts that. But it's more about, hey, how does Jerry see the future of this team and where this team is going? Because if you trade Micah, that opens the door to doing a ton of business on the roster and starting over. And, if you're Jerry Jones, I again, I'm just going to keep saying it. I don't think his pride will allow him to do that. I don't think Jerry Jones is interested in doing a rebuild. I think Jerry Jones understands where he's at in life and understands he's got a crap load of money just sitting there, and he's willing to pay tax.
I agree.
And, which is fine. Cool. If you're good with that, like, everyone runs from like the whole luxury tax thing. And it's like, yeah, you're paying tax, for every dollar you're over the cap. And I think Jerry's more willing to do that than he is willing to tear the team down and start over. And so how do you fix it? I don't think there's an immediate fix. I think this is a season that you're just going to have to suffer through. And
I agree.
No, Cooper Rush is not some Renaissance backup quarterback that should have been playing over Dak, Jerry. And you're not better.
You last night.
My God. Yeah, I take this guy once in a blue moon, right? Cooper Rush, for less than, I think it was like 17 or 18 completions on the night. And he winds up having 34 because Houston, did the Houston thing.
Joe Mixon.
And I had Joe, and Joe was great. But I was just thinking, okay, cool. Dallas is playing terribly on offense. I'm not sure that Cooper was going to throw an interception. Of course he did. And, of course he had more completions than he should have. But I just don't think that there's an easy fix for Dallas. And I think if you're a Cowboy fan, you need to strap in because it's going to be a while.
Keith Carl, they could use the metal to block about 2% of the sun through the big window. I like it.
Yeah, we remember Sungate.
I like it. Ronnie Southern, Dallas is like the Carolina Panthers. The owner is the problem. Well, look at my football fandom. Notre Dame, the owners are the problem. Well, God, because it's Catholic. So,
touchdown, Jesus.
Thank you, son of a Jewish carpenter. The Chicago Bears, please. Please. Virginia. The Ricketts family in Chicago for the Cubs. We're going to talk about Juan Soto in a minute. The Cubs are not involved in Juan Soto. I'll just be over here,
Yeah.
The Blackhawks. No. Chelsea Football Club. No. I have no, do you guys, I have no sports happiness.
No.
I need Marcus Freeman and Jesus. They're not bad administrators. Okay. But when Jesus Christ owns your football club, how can you not have the right personnel groupings on the field? Doesn't he just magic?
In God's name, image, and likeness.
I mean, hell, you guys, he turned water into Gatorade for your football team.
Stay hard.
That's water into wine.
That was a water into wine, water into Gatorade, but purple Gatorade because that's the only flavor. The
purple drink.
Yeah. Right.
I have no happiness. My football teams, the Chicago Bears and the Notre Dame Fighting Irish.
Yeah, that's stupid.
The biggest problem for me right now is the mediocrity that reigns in my sports fandom.
Right.
Right? I'm the idiot that bought Cubs season tickets again. The Chicago Blackhawks. I'm the idiot that's going to a Blackhawk game this year. Let's be honest. The best performance I'm going to see when I go back to see the Cubs and Blackhawks will be the Chicago Symphony Orchestra. Because I'm going to that too.
Yeah.
Well, no, the person that makes my super dog, that'll be the best performance.
Yeah.
Will the Cubs even rank top 5 performances that I see? I probably am going to drive by some professional women of the night. Their performance.
Hot ass.
Probably don't want to be making sex worker jokes. But anyway, my point is, this is where I'm at with my fandom. Like the Bears and the Notre Dame,
it's brutal.
Boyd Lake, Jarrah could use a sunshade on that window. My dude looks old.
You went Sungate to Dak is out for the year to Cooper Rush to stuff falling off the ceiling to getting hosed by the Texans.
Getting hosed from the Texans?
Like, come on, bro.
You mean Robert Kraft?
My God.
Yeah, my sports fandom is not good right now. Yes, Stymie. Rickets is a fatal disease. It's not good. Thank the Lord they did not get Chelsea Football Club. The Ricketts family who owns the Cubs almost had Chelsea Football Club. And I would have just been like, God.
You should have probably, if that had happened, you probably bought a United shirt.
Shut up. Brandon Butler, there is not tax in the NFL. It's a hard cap. Jarrah has to be the reason that the Cowboys win or lose. It's why he got rid of Jimmy. No one in Dallas can be a bigger than Jarrah. He's Al Davis 2.0. Right. But the fines and the penalties, it's a long. Anyway, the Cowboys are slowly turning into the Chicago Bears of the NFL. Thanks for that. Thank you. And the Bears are the Jets of the NFL. Thank you. UW fan Jim, Jake, you might be tired of me, but I still love the show. I'm tired of the negativity.
Yeah, you always come in here and want to hate. Like, I just don't understand when that changed for you, dude.
Even though Oregon is going to murder us, go Dogs. Yeah, so Jim said earlier in the show that that BYU was winning games on smoke and mirrors. And it just
But then on the same hand, want to say that you've watched as much BYU as we have, and
And that might be true. Which is why I don't understand where you come up with smoke and mirrors for you want to talk about smoke and mirrors implies that you're not talented or well coached and you're accidentally winning
got
games.
lucky is what that means. They didn't get lucky.
BYU has not been lucky. Were they lucky in the K-State game? No, they made multiple special teams plays. Right? Like I think Notre Dame, Georgia, Bama, Oregon, those teams, were they losing early in the season because they're bad football teams? No. Notre Dame lost to NIU in the biggest trap game in the history of the Catholic religion. Oregon played tight games because they have a ton of new talent on that roster, and Dylan Gabriel's new in their system. Well, what do you know? Time's passed and Dylan Gabriel's playing like we all expected him to play. Ohio State. Will Howard's gotten better every single game. That's not smoke and mirrors or luck. That's called quality coaching and grinding out wins. If Will Howard, if Oregon played Ohio State again, does anybody believe that Ohio State wins that game? I do. Because you have more cohesiveness, more chemistry. You have a new play caller, a new quarterback, and a new running back. Come on. Like, your offensive line was patchwork. You understand why the good teams right now are winning games now. They lose games early in the season. BYU losing to Kansas, you can't do that in November. You can't. We talked about it.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
You can't do it. Incredibly damaging loss for the Big 12 with BYU.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about Juan Soto. Does anybody here believe that Juan Soto's worth the $660 that the Mets offered him allegedly? What would you pay Juan Soto? He wants Ohtani money.
Yeah, the problem with that is that you don't pitch, and you benefited, I think, statistically from playing at Yankee Stadium. Now, this guy's a great hitter. This guy is one of the, I would say, he's a top 10 player in the game right now, for sure.
Top 10 player.
Yeah. You think he's better than that?
Yeah, I think he's top 5.
Okay,
He is an offensively, and defensively, the guy, I think he does it all. He runs, he throws, he catches, he hits for power, hits for average, situationally.
Yeah, I wouldn't pay him Ohtani money. I don't think he's that dynamic. I think Ohtani kind of disappeared in the playoffs, but had the shoulder thing, was dealing with injuries clearly. So I'm curious what Ohtani in the playoffs healthy would look like. But Ohtani's had TJ now. He's had the shoulder. Injuries are definitely part of the conversation with Ohtani now. So, I think the hard part for the Mets is that you're willing to pay this guy that much money, but what is that going to do for you? You had a loaded roster and you melted down.
The New York Mets allegedly offered Juan Soto $660 million. They met with him in Los Angeles. He is meeting with the Dodgers today, who are expected to beat that offer. And then he allegedly is going to meet with the Blue Jays and Yankees afterward. Most people believe that Juan Soto wants to play in New York. Most people believe that he would sign for $675. And I think the Mets know that. That's why they offered him $660, because I think they want to price the Blue Jays and Dodgers out. Because you can't, at some point, everybody's money runs out.
Yeah.
You can't tell me that lawyers are going to pay Soto $700 million. Now, obviously, the Ohtani contract is heavily backloaded and deferred, so they have more money up front now. But are you really telling me you're going to pay $1 billion to two dudes? What would that be? $1.3 billion to two players? That math doesn't add up.
Yeah. And I think that, I think Soto as a Yankee was phenomenal. I think he's built for Yankee Stadium. I think, obviously I don't disagree with anything you've said. He can hit, for average. He can do anything you want him to do at the plate. But the reality is that power stroke is right center field. Right field. That's where he really thrives. And I think, unfortunately, the Yankees just couldn't come up with it in the World Series. And that's not on Juan Soto.
Well, maybe Aaron Judge should catch fly balls and Mr. Spider Tack should cover first base.
Yeah. So the question is,
Good
does
Lord.
Juan Soto believe that as a Yankee, he can win a championship?
I think Juan Soto wants $700 million. And here's my question, because one of the dark horses in this race is the Toronto Blue Jays. If the Blue Jays offer him $690 million and the Mets offer him $660, is he going to Toronto? It's a lot of bread, dude. And the belief is the Yankees will offer a 15-year deal. Now, what is that 15-year deal valued at? That's the biggest question.
He's 26 years old right now.
I think the Dodgers want to offer him $10 million, and I think the Dodgers are willing to pay him $700 on a 10-year deal, will he take deferment? Latin Dominican players don't historically take deferments. They want their money up front.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy reporting this, by the way, is former Met Carlos Baerga.
Yeah.
So take that with a grain of salt. But if you're Juan Soto, you've made good money already. Are you willing to take a deferment? Scott Boras, that's his agent.
Yeah, I guess the question for Juan Soto is, and maybe this is the question for anybody who's in this type of conversation, to get historic money, if you will. You know, what's more important to Juan Soto right now? And again, this isn't a criticism of Juan Soto, but is it just more important to make as much money as you can? Or is it more important to you to say, yeah, you know, 650 versus 690? If I can win a championship, I'm gonna take 650. Like, we're talking about literally never having to work again.
This guy's made $82.3 million already.
Like, he's never going to have to work again ever. And so really, to me, I like, part of it is, it's not about the money. It's hey, where do I want to work? Where do I want to live every day? Where do I want to, you know, that work-life balance type thing? Is Toronto a city that he would enjoy? I don't know. That's on him.
How much does he want to win? I think he wants to win a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, you took a 1-year, $31 million prove-it deal from the Yankees last year. Hell, I'd love to make $31 million proving it. He's going to get a huge pay raise here. My guess is he gets probably a 15-year deal. I think he breaks Ohtani's record.
And don't forget, he's already won one World Series.
Yeah, with the Nationals.
So, you know, it's not as though he hasn't won yet. So it's like that.
He made the Padres better.
He did. Yeah.
He hit big home runs for the Yankees. The dude loves the spotlight. This isn't a guy that worries about New York City.
Juan Soto damn near is the reason they went to the World Series with that home run against the Guardians.
Well, and he patrols right field very well for them.
Yeah.
And it frees up Aaron Judge to drop fly balls in the World Series in center field.
See, and that's my thing. If you're Juan Soto, are you sitting here saying, how do you feel about how the World Series went? If you're Juan Soto, are you saying, hey, man, we just played bad in that series and we probably win if we play our best baseball? Or are you saying, gosh, Aaron Judge is 32, going to be 33, drop that fly ball. We weren't really in the series.
Dude.
You know, I need to go somewhere else. I don't think that Juan Soto is an LA guy. Could be wrong. Maybe he wants to play for the Dodgers. Maybe he's over the moon about it. But I would agree with you. He strikes me as East Coast, edgy, you know, really embraces that energy kind of guy. So to me, if I'm the Yankees, I don't know about 15 years. I'd be more like 12, 13 years. I don't want to see him on my roster.
Are you paying Aaron Judge $40 million to pay Juan Soto $70 million a year? What do you say to your captain, who you almost doubled the salary of Juan Soto? Well, you know what I would say? Hit in the postseason and catch those fly balls, Aaron, and we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
Right? Because I look at the rest of their stuff, that weird Garrett Cole contract, you can only think that they did that Garrett Cole opted in because he wants to help them pay for Juan Soto.
Yeah.
I can only imagine that Giancarlo Stanton at $32 million, but what else did he do? Guy hit in the postseason. Right? I think the biggest question is, can you afford another pitcher? Because Juan Soto does not win them a World Series. They need another pitcher. They need another pitcher. And I would also remind you, look at the money being spent by the LA Dodgers. Who did they not re-sign? Walker Buehler. Now, Walker Buehler, the deal that he will likely get probably returns him to the Dodgers. But you look at their money right now it's pretty remarkable to me that Tyler Glasnow is their highest average per year guy at $32.5 million. And that's how much money Ohtani has deferred. He is on your books for $2 million a year, which is outrageous because the guy wants to win. So for me, if I'm Juan Soto, I'm probably taking that deferred deal to stay with the Yankees because the Yankees, I think, know that they need to go out and get more pitching. If they had better pitching, they win the World Series.
And does Juan Soto give a damn about how the world sees him? Because if you go to the Dodgers after losing to them in the World Series, you're gonna catch flack.
He's not going to the Dodgers. I think he is. I think do the Mets follow through on their threat to overpay everybody who offers him? I kind of think they will. And I think that it'll be very interesting to see, like look at the Mets cap situation. You guys understand that the Mets salary situation is dominant. They have $98.6 million in cap space to be under the tax.
It's a ton.
They have money to go out and get it, and their guys are in manageable contracts. Lindor is 31 years old.
But think about the deferment thing in their situation. I mean, if you have to pay Juan Soto, let's call it 65 a year. Now you just went from 98 to 60 or you went from 98 in cap space to 30 something because of Soto's deal. So, that's how much the deferment matters. That's why Ohtani's deferring, because, hey, if I'm only $2 million on a, I mean, I don't even know what the Dodgers is now, like $300 million or whatever it is, that's a tiny portion, and you can go out and get more pitching and
look at what the Dodgers have to replace. Teoscar Hernandez,
contributor. Juan
Soto, Jack Flaherty, Walker Buehler, Blake Trinan, who was a huge part of that bullpen, Joe Kelly, and Kike Hernandez. That's not nothing.
Yeah, Kike's a budget buy guy, right?
That's not nothing. Who hits home runs in the postseason?
Yeah, he's a budget buy, clutch guy. Wants to be part of the team.
What do the Yankees have to replace? Juan Soto, Anthony Rizzo, Gleyber Torres, Alex Verdugo, Clay Holmes, Tommy Kahnle, Jonathan Loaizaga, Trevino, Tim Hill. They don't have a lot to replace. You know why? Because they didn't have a lot in the first place. All their bread's tied up in bats. They need to go out and get pitching.
Yeah, and that's why I think all the people saying it was on Booney that they lost. I think it's just a soft take because I would go out and I would go as far as to say that's one of his best managing jobs. I think with the dysfunction in that roster, with the bullpen situation, the fact that Garrett Cole was out for a while, you persevered, and the Guardians had you on the ropes there for a minute, and then Juan Soto came through, Judge came through, Stanton came through, your boys came through.
If you're the Mets, is it smart to sign Juan Soto to a 15-year, $70.5 million deal when you have to replace Pete Alonso? Now, there's some talk that Juan Soto can play first base, and Sean Manaea, Jose Quintana, Luis Severino, not top-tier pitching,
but solid.
Got a big part of your rotation.
Yeah.
JD Martinez growing on trees right now because JD's like 87 years old. Harrison Bader, not hard to replace. And then it's guys like Adam Ottavino, Jesse Winker, Jose Iglesias.
Yeah, Winker will be back. Winker was a big part of their
I think he will be back.
Yeah.
But my point is, that's not as much to replace as it looks like. Now, of course, I'm gonna bitch and moan about the Chicago Cubs not being in the chase when you have no pitching. And I understand that you're going to be in the race for arms. I totally understand that. But you can't tell me is there no place that the Chicago Cubs should be competing for Juan Soto and they're not? There's no place when you look at the payrolls in baseball. The Philadelphia Phillies at $222.7 million. The Yankees at $186 million. The Cubs are at $140. You're $80 million behind the Phillies? You're $80 million behind the Phillies with the Chicago Cubs. Come on. That's ridiculous. You're getting outspent by the Houston Astros. You're getting outspent by the Padres. Come on, man. That's the thing that I just can't. Yeah. Brandon Butler, is Soto saying if I can't beat him, then I should join him? No, not at all. Not at all. I'm telling you that Juan Soto wants to play in New York. I think Juan Soto, a kid that grew up in the Dominican, idolizing the Yankees. I think he talked about how it was a lifelong dream to put on the pinstripes and play in New York.
Just think it's so hard to know. Like, I agree with all that, but it's so hard to know. Like, if you're Juan Soto, how do you look at what happened? Do you look at it as, hey, I accomplished that goal and that dream, and now it's just go out and get paid?
That's not what the sources are saying. Like Ken Rosenthal and others are saying he wants to stay in New York, that it'll be the Mets or the Yankees. And he is through Scott Boras. And I think he's actually staying at Scott Boras's house in Newport Beach. That he's taking his meetings in Los Angeles. And everybody's like, oh, he wants to be with the Dodgers. Well, his agent's based in Los Angeles. Yeah. And his relationships run deep. Scott Boras's relationships with the Dodgers run deep.
Yeah.
So, of course, he is going to meet with the Dodgers because you could take that Dodger money and leverage the Mets for it.
Right.
I think he ultimately ends up back with the Yankees, but I think it'll be a very tough decision between the Yankees and the Mets.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Scott Boras is very good at getting that Chicago Cub offer, right? Look at Ohtani with the Blue Jays last year. The Blue Jays thought they had Ohtani. Now, ain't a goddamn other person who thought they did, but they thought they had Ohtani. What do they need most in Toronto? They need a left-handed bat because Vlad Guerrero is their thunder, and they don't have another left-handed bat to complement him.
Yeah.
They need a lefty. Juan Soto would be a great fit there. Not going to happen. Why would you go play in Toronto? Not baseball. Hockey? Sure. Not baseball.
Man, the Leafs. Jesus.
Yeah, well, there's that. Damian Fowler. The Mets owner said he would pay $50 million more than the highest bidder. He did say that. And he's got the bread. Stymie. I remember when one contract for $100 million ruined a roster for a decade. Soriano with the Cubs. These numbers are getting crazy. But the money coming in on stadiums, branding deals. Like, look at my Cubs. That place is completely different. We just played a football game, Ohio State and Northwestern. Concerts. Like, I went to Fenway Park to see the Foo Fighters last summer.
Baseball stadiums are starting to understand.
ATM machines, man.
Yep.
Ronnie Southern. When is the last time the Mets paid big money when it wound up in a championship?
See, and that's the other thing. Like, you want to play in New York, who are you going to play for? Well, you're probably going to choose the Yankees over the Mets. I mean, the Mets had a couple of good years, a decade ago when it was David Wright and the fellas.
Now. They have a good roster. They have a good pipeline. They have a good manager. They have their ownership wants to win. He's got his money back in line. The owner of the Mets lost huge money in the Madoff scandal and has been trying to replenish that. And now he has. So, You'd up fan Jim, if the Mariners going to win it all, are the Mariners going to win it all next season? No, they're not. And you just lost Dave Sims to the Yankees as their radio voice. Lopes fan Gabe, good morning. Hello. Soto is saying, give me the bag. He is. I want the Cubs in it so bad. And listen, the Cubs have bats. My guess is Anthony Rizzo comes back to Chicago and they sign two of the top 10 pitchers available. You're probably going to compete in the Central.
Yeah.
You're not going to win, but you'll compete. You will compete. They have, in my opinion, and this is just, again, my opinion. Who am I? Little old Monty.
Little Maury.
Their money is well spent with Dansby, Bellinger opted in, and Ian Happ. Those three guys are foundational players that all leave the yard, right? You don't have your best pitcher, Shoto, who is on an $18 million deal. Because Jamison Tyone's not, in my opinion, a top of the rotation pitcher.
Yeah.
Shoto's probably our best pitcher, right? And then Justin Steele's probably your number two. You need a top of the rotation ace. That's what the Cubs need. And you don't have it. And I think anymore, it's not good enough. The Patrick Wisdoms of the world, the Nick Madrigals, the Mike Talkmans of the world. No, that's not good enough anymore. Those are bench player, role players, fill players. You got to do better than that. The bullpen's pretty solid. I don't, with Keegan Thompson, and I don't have a problem with those guys. But I'm telling you now, you've got to go and get 2 30-start pitchers I need 6 innings, 3 runs or less.
Yeah.
I need 2 guys who can do that for me every 5th day. And that's how you're going to win the Central. Will the Cubs do that? I don't know. We'll find out. Sal Capone, Jesus. What can you explain to me what the Arizona Wildcat basketball program is doing? Like, I don't even...
I don't know. I don't know if I don't quite know how to answer that, to be honest.
Has anybody looked at the Pac-12? Big 12 standings in basketball? Arizona is 2-1.
Wow.
How did you lose to Wisconsin? I'm not saying Wisconsin's a bad ball club, but you gave up 100 points to Wisconsin? Turns out Old Dominion's not as good as we thought they were.
Yeah, well, what's next? Abilene?
Abilene? I think the more shocking loss was Duke being Duke and losing to...
Mark Pope had him ready.
And now, what do we get this weekend? Capone? Now, we're off next week because I'll be in Hawaii and, well, you won't. It's fine. You better beat. You better win that game. Duke. Duke is Duke. Capone, you going to beat Duke? You going to beat Duke? I don't want to hear it. Yeah, Roche's like, I'm Wisconsin. Exactly. Stymie, Rizzo back in Chicago would be fantastic. There's a lot of talk about it. A lot of talk. Fowler, Cubs are going to go after Sasaki. Why? The posting system is such BS, in my opinion. Owners don't spend money in Chicago, and if they do, they trade it away in 2 seasons because the ownership in Chicago all makes so much money. Like the Bears, I sort of understand it. That stadium is not great. Soldier Field, it's one of the smallest stadiums in the NFL. It might be the smallest stadium in the NFL. Get a new stadium deal. Okay, fine. But that doesn't excuse you for not firing Eberflus here. Because I'd also point out the thing that was really troubling is the offense was much better on Sunday.
Yep.
Eberflus blaming the officials. Did you guys see the Bears filed an appeal to the NFL on the blocked field goal? I agree it was a penalty. You guys don't care about this. You're not allowed to make forcible contact with the snapper on the field goal if his head is down. So what do they coach in the NFL? Hey, dickhead, keep your head down. And his head was down, and they jumped on top of his neck. They landed on his neck. No flag was thrown. Is that why they blocked the field goal? No. Because little dude kicked it right into it was a low-line drive kick. Congratulations on your stupid appeal. Dickhead. Like, fire that guy. Excuse my French. That's 2 today. Arizona was Wisconsin championship. See that court storm? LOL. Y'all almost lost last night, man. It doesn't matter. They didn't almost lose against Arizona. That was a disappointing performance out, y'all. Arizona beating Duke early in the season still, barely November. Guy, it's Thanksgiving. What do you mean barely November? U.S. VA guy. Why? These players from Japan are the cream of the crop. That's why. Well, the postings, I don't have a problem with the talent. I would love Sasaki. Phenomenal pitcher, young kid. I get it. He makes no money. Do you understand all the money that you pay? I can't remember his posting number. Let me look it up. Do you guys understand that his posting fee, where is it? His posting fee will be, load. Good Lord. I need a load.
Yeah.
Yeah. Contract worth less than $25 million. 20% of the contract value. So we're really, I mean, it's outrageous how little the guy gets. Contract worth 25 to 50 is $5 million plus 17.5% of the amount over $25 million. Posting fee, contract worth more than $50 million, $9.2 million plus 15% over $50 million. He's going to make a veteran minimum, essentially. It's ridiculous. It is ridiculous.
Yep.
They're going to Yamamoto, I think, got $50 million in a posting fee. I said $50 million in a posting fee. That's what I hate about it. I don't care about he's a good pitcher. Come on. That's ridiculous. Dillingham has been working with Hurley. This is the year for ASU basketball. Well, you know.
Is the ASU basketball court made out of concrete as well, or?
You're being a butthole. All I have to say is that you beat Grand Canyon, and that's all that mattered. Because that's always got some heat behind it. So, that's all that matters. Arizona State's 4-1. Can't hate on it, right?
It's early in November, though, you know.
Mayor, hilarious. I find it interesting that Dillingham coach has kinder and more endearing words for Kalani than Kyle Whittingham, who actually knows him well. Boy, you ain't kidding. And I was going to save this bite for tomorrow. Listen to Kenny Dillingham, the Fighting Dillinghams, talking about Kalani.
One of the best defensive minds in football. We've played him. I've played him multiple times. Phenomenal defensive coach. He's he's definitely in the top 3 of just best people in the profession from a head coaching perspective. Like, you would want to have your child play for him. Like, he's just an unbelievable person. You can just see his energy with the players, his connection with the players. That's why they play really hard for him, and they play extremely hard. I mean, this team plays hard and physical because the connection that you can see that he builds. So he's a phenomenal football coach. He's done an incredible job there. He's done an incredible job this year. Like I said, I truly think it's because, one, he's a phenomenal football coach and defensive mind, but 2, I think those guys really believe in him and really want to play for him. And when he says something, they listen and they believe it, and they go and try to achieve it.
I mean, did he leave money on the nightstand for you, Kenny?
Smoke and mirrors, bro.
Yeah, BYU wins with smoke and mirrors.
Yeah, smoke and mirrors, bro.
How do you not like Kenny Dillingham? And if you guys didn't see this earlier, I think it's worth replaying it.
If you have tickets and you're an ASU fan, make sure they go to ASU fans, right? There's a lot of BYU fans in the Valley, right? So let's make sure if you're an ASU fan and you own a ticket and you're selling it or you're giving it away, make them show you an ASU hat or an ASU shirt, show something ASU in order to get that ticket. Because I think it's one of the most expensive tickets in college football right now. Are the tickets to this game on Saturday, and that's super exciting just because the environment for the guys when they run out of the tunnel, that's real. To be loud, right, on 3rd downs, on 4th downs is real. And, I mean, I can't wait until we hit our first 3rd down, their offense, our defense, and the place just stands up and erupts. And that's going to be exciting.
I want to have his children. I do. I love Kenny Dillingham. How do you not love that guy?
Dilly.
I love Dilly. And Kenny Dillingham.
Stay hard.
The point is, how do you not like that guy?
Yeah.
And his words for Kalani. It's why I sell high on Kalani all the time. The guy is unbelievable. Unbelievable. No way Sitake going to a mid-program like Utah. Why would he do that?
What are we doing?
Roche. No, did you guys see what Kyle said about the coach in waiting? That's done. Morgan Scalley's the dude. Kyle said we're evaluating all phases of our operation, and Morgan is right next to me. He deserves that. He's earned that. He's my number one. Come on. It is, yeah. USVA guy, since you're going to be in Hawaii, stick around to watch Bronco take New Mexico to a bowl game. Bronco's done a nice job there. Not much bad to say about Bronco Mendenhall. Roshane Morgan Scally is he knows that. Hi, Tanner. Indiana is probably getting exposed this week. Well, that's a felony in some states. Yeah, for now, Tanner. It's in his contract. They have to pay him an exorbitant amount of money if they don't hire him. Don't take my Satake or Jay Hill. Jay Hill's a stud. Jay Hill's going to be a head coach at the Division I level soon. Mayor Hilarious, my wife is getting exposed this week. I've heard that. Hey, if you could ask her to bring some chips and salsa over as well, that'd be great. Bring the chips and
Nice job.
Yummy, yummy, yummy.
It all works together. Nice job.
I'm a terrible human. Okay. Thank you. I'm glad you're immunized. I don't want to get any on me. It's fine. I'm going to stop talking now. We'll be back tomorrow. The Monty Show presented by The Advocates at theadvocates.com. The best injury attorneys in the business. Clear, risk-free advice. And the best part is you never reach into your pocket to pay for it. Chat with an injury attorney live online, and it won't cost you a dime at theadvocates.com. Until tomorrow, say goodbye, Jake.
Goodbye, Jake.